Chapter 181. All right, Auntie. I promise you I'll cultivate. Zmo gritted her teeth and nodded in agreement. Mo is so obedient. Go and rest. I'll guide you in your cultivation tomorrow. The woman patted Zmo's head and said happily. Looking at Zmo's bouncing figure, the woman's face was filled with self-blame. Ah, silly girl. This place isn't suitable for you. But for my son, I can only let you down. At the very least, you'll be better than your sister if you become the God Emperor. The woman recalled the past. She and the current God Emperor had fought for the position of God Emperor. She had given up the position because she was soft-hearted. That was because her talent was not inferior to the current God Emperor. Otherwise, it was impossible for her strength and influence to be on par with the current God Emperor. The woman looked in the direction of the God Emperor Palace and muttered, Xing should be in the God Emperor Palace. That girl still thinks she's smart. She used the saint weapon I gave her to hide her aura outside my door. Hey, where are you taking me? I have to queue up to register. Yi Hao was pulled out of the city by Song Shanshan. Yi Hao asked in confusion. Don't worry. When the Guo family announced your participation, your name was already registered, Song Shanshan said with a smile. All right. That saves me a lot of trouble. Yi Hao said softly. With Song Shanshan pulling him, Yi Hao looked at a fire that had been lit. A few servants were busy there. Yi Hao saw their clothes and recognized that they were servants of the Song family. Yi Hao instantly understood something. Yi Hao looked at Song Shanshan in shock. You didn't wake me up early in the morning just to have me roast meat for you, did you? Song Shanshan nodded with stars in her eyes. However, she felt a little embarrassed and explained, I haven't had roast meat for a few days. I wanted to see if your skills have deteriorated. Yi Hao said with a frown, That's how you tricked me into roasting meat for you yesterday. Can't you find another excuse today? Song Shanshan pouted and looked into the distance as if she hadn't heard Yi Hao's words. However, her blushing face exposed her shy heart. Yi Hao smiled and shook his head. He took out a piece of blue leopard meat from his space and walked to the fire. When the servants saw Yi Hao coming over, they hurriedly stood up to greet him. Looking at the blue leopard meat in Yi Hao's hand, they swallowed hard and gave their seats to Yi Hao. It seemed that these servants were just like Song Shanshan, deeply affected by the barbecue. The annual beast appraisal competition shall now begin. When it was close to noon, the beast appraisal competition began in Beast King City. Every year's beast appraisal competition only had a maximum of several thousand participants and several tens of thousands of spectators. This year was different. There were tens of thousands of participants and hundreds of thousands of spectators. This was all because of the Wan Shou sect's outer disciple quota. If it weren't for the end of the registration period, the number of participants would have increased by several times. Just like that, although many people sighed because they didn't register, they still stayed to watch the competition. They wanted to know which lucky person would win this quota. An elderly martial king ascended the stage and shouted with a flushed face. The crowd below immediately erupted into cheers. The old man saw that it was rare for there to be so many people below, and he was very excited. He gathered his emotions and shouted, Let us warmly welcome the guests of the Thousand Beasts sect, Elder Li, Elder Wan and Elder Bai. In the VIP seats on the stage were the three elders of the Wan Shou sect. One of them was a young man, while the other two were elderly. Elder Li was the young man. When the elderly man introduced him, he only nodded slightly, full of arrogance. This Elder Li is so young. To be able to become an elder at such a young age, he's amazing. The crowd below the stage didn't have any objections to Elder Li's arrogance. They were full of admiration for him. After all, he was able to become an elder at such a young age. He had the right to be arrogant. Meanwhile, Elder Wan was the same as Elder Li. He only nodded slightly with an expressionless face. On the other hand, the last Elder Bai stood up and said with a smile, Everyone, please be quiet. I am Bai Qingshang from the Wan Shou sect. I hereby announce that the winner of this beast appraisal competition will be an external disciple of our Wan Shou sect. As soon as Bai Qingshang's voice fell, although everyone knew what the reward was, when it came from Bai Qingshang's mouth, all the contestants rubbed their palms and some even began to pray. But Bai Qingshang raised both his hands and silenced the crowd's discussion. The crowd quickly stopped talking and turned their attention to Bai Qingshang. Other than the first place, the second and third place will also become apprentice disciples of the Wan Shou sect. The top 10 will become odd job disciples. Bai Qingshang released another explosive news. What? The top 10 will become odd job disciples? I'm regretting it. Why didn't I register? Although it's an odd job disciple, it's still a disciple of the Wan Shou sect. Who knows, I might even be able to advance further. I don't have any hope of getting first place, but if I work hard, I should be able to get into the top 10. As soon as Bai Qingshang finished speaking, it once again caused a commotion. Many of those who didn't sign up were annoyed. Even those who didn't have any hope of getting first place were now filled with fighting spirit after hearing Bai Qingshang's words. Even the Song and Guo families were shocked. They had just received the news and thought there would only be one spot. They didn't expect the Wan Shou sect to be so generous as to give 10 spots. Sparks of fighting spirit flashed in their eyes when they heard Bai Qingshang's announcement. Even the Song and Guo families were shocked. They had just received the news and thought there would only be one spot. They didn't expect the Wan Shou sect to be so generous as to give 10 spots. The most excited ones were the smaller families. Although they didn't have much hope of getting first place, if they could become odd job disciples of the Wan Shou sect, their family would rise rapidly. Well, everyone has heard it clearly. The top 10 will be able to enter the Wan Shou sect. Even this old man regrets not registering. The old man said with a face full of regret. His words instantly caused the audience to burst into laughter. The first round is to choose a living magical beast egg from these eggs to pass the round. Under the instruction of the old man, dozens of pieces of red cloth were removed by the guards, revealing a small hill. Everyone focused their eyes and realized that the small hills were actually all magical beast eggs. There were at least millions of magical beast eggs in total. Moreover, these eggs were all provided by the Wan Shou sect. One could see the generosity of the Wan Shou sect. These eggs are all low-level magical beast eggs. They have been identified by the masters of the Wan Shou sect. At least 1% of the eggs are alive. Each person can choose 2 eggs. As long as one of them is alive, they can proceed to the next round. The low-level magical beasts mentioned by the old man were magical beasts below the 3rd level. Those below the 6th level were called mid-level magical beasts. Those below the 8th level were called high-level magical beasts. Those below the 9th level were called saint beasts, and those below the 10th level were called divine beasts. Chapter 182. That's way too difficult. There's only a 1% chance. Even if you want to rely on luck, you won't stand a chance. The crowd discussed fervently as they stared at the millions of eggs. Although they were of different sizes, they all looked similar. Although only 1% of the eggs were alive, the number of eggs was enough for everyone to advance. However, this was only for those who had studied magical beast eggs. For those who knew nothing about beast appraising, there was a 1% chance. It was possible that a mountain of magical beast eggs was full of dead eggs, but it was also possible that a mountain of magical beast eggs was full of living eggs. Contestants, there are millions of magical beast eggs here, and tens of thousands of living eggs. As long as you're lucky, it'll be easy for you to advance. Moreover, if you manage to identify a living egg, the magical beast will belong to you. The old man continued, in the profession of beast appraising, luck is sometimes very important. Hearing the old man's words, many people were encouraged. A magical beast of the lowest rank could be sold for a few thousand gold taels. Moreover, there were tens of thousands of living eggs. If they relied on luck, they might actually advance. Contestants who have registered, please enter the arena in order when I call your name. After the old man finished speaking, those who had registered quickly went to line up. Inside the arena, there were people who excitedly identified living eggs, while others shook their heads and sighed when they identified dead eggs. The roars of the magical beasts rose and fell. Under the arrangement of the soldiers, the competition quickly began. Where's Xia Hao? Why hasn't he appeared when the competition has already started? Xie Chunyu was wearing a black veil as she stood behind City Lord Song. She scanned the crowd and asked, I heard that Shanshan took him away. At the same time, a few of his servants also disappeared, City Lord Song said bitterly. Nonsense, Master Shui is still waiting inside. If Yi Hao doesn't show up, how are we going to proceed with our plan? Xie Chunyu frowned and shouted coldly. I'll go look for them first. Grandpa Song, please hold them back. Xie Chunyu immediately realized that her tone was a little off and said apologetically. City Lord Song didn't look too happy, but when he thought of Xie Chunyu's father, he nodded. City Lord Song, this Xia Hao really doesn't give us any face. He disappeared when the competition started. Guo Yingrui, who was sitting far away, suddenly stood up and asked loudly, instantly attracting the attention of many people. Only then did everyone remember that Xia Hao had killed Guo Yingrui's demonic beast. At the same time, the announcement of Xia Hao's participation in the beast appraisal competition was to humiliate Xia Hao. What surprised everyone was that Xia Hao actually agreed to participate in the competition, either because he was afraid of the Guo family or because he was young and impetuous. Only after hearing Guo Yingrui's question did everyone realize that Xia Hao's absence had given Guo Yingrui an excuse to flip out. General Guo, don't be anxious. Little friend Xia will be here soon. City Lord Song was old but vigorous. He fearlessly met Guo Yingrui's provocative gaze and said with a smile, All right, then I'll wait for him to come. If he runs away or doesn't dare to come, then it'll be a humiliation to my Guo family. When the time comes, I'll definitely come to your house to get a satisfactory explanation. Guo Yingrui coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves, and sat down. Even your father doesn't dare to speak to me in such a manner. I think you must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's gut. City Lord Song also had a bellyful of anger in his heart. He was worried that he had nowhere to vent it. A powerful chi wave surged from his body towards Guo Yingrui. Old Song, why are you making things difficult for a child? Although a voice was heard, it shattered City Lord Song's aura. Greetings, father. Guo Yingrui's expression changed. He didn't expect City Lord Song to dare to make a move at this time. Fortunately, his father appeared in time. City Lord Song didn't turn around. He smiled and replied, Because he's a child, as an elder, I have to help you teach him a lesson. Although I didn't help much when sister-in-law gave birth to him, I also didn't fulfill my responsibilities all these years. That's why he's so arrogant, you. Guo Hai's face instantly turned green. Father, shut up, you bastard. Just as Guo Yingrui was about to speak, Guo Hai slapped Guo Yingrui's face and sat down with a green face. Guo Yingrui felt very wronged. He didn't know how he offended his father. He looked at City Lord Song with dissatisfaction and had no choice but to sit down. In his heart, he directed all his hatred towards Yi Hao. You better not come out. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Seeing Guo Hai and Guo Hai suffer in silence, the crowd immediately started discussing. Could it be that General Guo is City Lord Song's son? I think so. Otherwise, why didn't Patriarch Guo refute and hit General Guo instead? I really admire Patriarch Guo. He can even endure this. Guo Yingrui naturally heard the discussions below clearly. He finally understood why his father hit him. He quickly said, Father, I'm definitely your biological son. Don't you know mother's character? Shut up. How can I not know? Don't embarrass me anymore. Guahai said angrily. When Xia Hao appears later, humiliate him severely. I've already bribed that Master Shui. Let that old man be arrogant for a while longer. Yes, father. Guoring Rue suddenly realized that his father purposely let City Lord Song let down his guard. Although they didn't know the exact plan of the Song family, they had already bribed the trump card of the Song family. City Lord Song's task for Master Shui was to ensure Yi Hao's advancement. Guahai and Guahai guessed that this was why Yi Hao dared to participate in the competition. But now that they had already bribed Master Shui, it would be harder for Yi Hao to advance. In his heart, he was waiting to see Yi Hao make a fool of himself. Then, he would kill Yi Hao. Moreover, they had arranged for Yi Hao's registration to be last. They were afraid that the Song family had other tricks up their sleeves. Because the lower the ranking, the harder it was to advance. Contestant Xia Hao, number 33,451. Contestant Xia Hao, number 33,451. A soldier shouted a few times, and it immediately attracted the attention of the old host. The old host immediately walked over and asked unhappily, "What's going on? The distinguished guest of the Wan Shou sect is here. Who doesn't know what's good for them? This person is disqualified. How dare he make a fool of the Wan Shou sect?" Elder Li sat in his seat and said unhappily, "Wait a minute, Elder Li." This time, City Lord Song and Guahai spoke at the same time. What's the matter? Elder Li looked at the two impatiently. "I know this Xia Hao. Can you wait a moment?" City Lord Song didn't care about Elder Li's attitude and asked carefully, "How dare you? You're just a small city lord. How can you delay the important matters of the Wan Shou sect?" Elder Li slapped the armrest of the chair and stood up angrily. "What's going on? Tell me." Elder Wan did not even look at City Lord Song, directly ignoring him. Instead, he asked Guahai. Chapter 183. Oh? What an arrogant brat. After listening to Guahai's embellishment, Elder Wan's wrinkled eyelids lifted slightly as he said contemptuously, "All right, let's wait for Xia Hao for a while," Bai Qingshang said when he saw the awkward atmosphere. Since they were here to select disciples, they had to show the generosity of Wan Shou sect. They couldn't ruin the image of Wan Shou sect just because of a brat. "Let's see what this brat has to make us wait for so long." Elder Wan snorted. Although he was related to Gua family, he had to give face to Bai Qingshang. "Xia Hao, what time is it? Why are you still barbecuing? Don't you know that the competition has started?" Xie Chunyu found Yi Hao in a hurry. When she saw Yi Hao barbecuing meat with Song Shanshan and several servants, she was furious. Yi Hao was shocked by Xie Chunyu's shout. His expression changed. Xie Chunyu's commanding tone made him uncomfortable. After a short pause, he continued to barbecue the meat in his hand. "Sister Chunyu, you're here. Do you want to eat? Brother Xia Hao's meat is delicious." Song Shanshan noticed the change in Yi Hao's expression. She quickly took a piece of barbecued meat and handed it to Xie Chunyu. She tried to calm Xie Chunyu down so that they could talk nicely. "What time is it now? You only know how to eat." Xie Chunyu frowned and threw the barbecued meat on the ground. The servants immediately stopped what they were doing and looked at them helplessly. "Xie Chunyu, it's none of your business whether I participate in the competition or not. Please don't show off in front of me." Yi Hao exhaled and stood up to look at Xie Chunyu. His face was so cold that it seemed as if it would drip water. "Shanshan, stand over here. Don't bother with her. It's up to you whether you want to eat or not." Yi Hao looked at the stunned Song Shanshan and said gently. Song Shanshan looked at Yi Hao with a wronged expression. Her eyes glistened with tears as she slowly walked to Yi Hao's side. She did not dare to look at Xie Chunyu. Her eyes were fixed on the barbecued meat on the ground. I'm doing this for your own good. Do you know that the competition has already started?" Xie Chunyu glanced at Yi Hao's eyes. The coldness in his eyes was exactly the same as Minister Yi Hao's. Xie Chunyu's heart couldn't help but panic, but her unyielding character made her unable to let go of her pride. Her tone remained firm. For my own good? What can I do for you? Should I help you sneak into the Wan Shou sect, or help you kill your father's killer, or let Shanshan seduce me with her beauty? Yi Hao said disdainfully. Shanshan you. Upon hearing Yi Hao's words, Xie Chunyu's expression changed. Her first suspicion was that Song Shanshan had told Yi Hao about it. Her eyes were filled with anger. Song Shanshan hurriedly shook her head, feeling wronged. She could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes and said, Sister Chunyu, I really didn't. Enough! Yi Hao scolded coldly. He reached out his hand to wipe away Song Shanshan's tears and said, I heard this with my own eyes. As for how I heard it, I don't need to tell you. Impossible. Xie Chunyu's face was filled with disbelief. Yi Hao was only a first-level martial king. How could he eavesdrop on her, a martial spirit realm cultivator? She and City Lord Song didn't even notice it. Nothing is impossible. Yi Hao began to use his hidden martial arts. What about now? Can you still feel my aura? Xie Chunyu revealed a shocked expression. If she hadn't seen Yi Hao standing right in front of her, she wouldn't have been able to sense Yi Hao's presence. A trace of greed appeared in her heart. How did you do it? That's none of your business. If you want me to help you, you'd better put away your greedy thoughts. Yi Hao held Song Shanshan's hand and walked straight towards the city, leaving Xie Chunyu stunned on the spot. Xie Chunyu stood on the spot and looked at Yi Hao's back. She couldn't figure out where Yi Hao got the confidence to threaten her in public. Xie Chunyu clenched the dagger in her hand and put it away. Yi Hao smiled and said loudly, I Yi also look down on those who betray their masters and ancestors. I will help you. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for obtaining the mission. Investigate the real murderer of Xie Chunyu's father. The reward is 10 million experience points and 3 million resurrection points. At the same time, the system's notification sounded. With such a high reward, doesn't that mean that the person who killed Xie Chunyu's father wasn't her senior? Yi Hao paused for a moment and continued walking towards the city. At the beginning, it was out of goodwill. Now that the mission had appeared, Yi Hao had no choice but to give it his all. Where's Xia Hao? Is he still participating in the competition? After waiting for a long time, under Elder Wan's instructions, the old host stood up and shouted again. I think this Xia Hao ran away because he was afraid of embarrassing himself. I think so too. I heard that Xia Hao is just a young boy. How could he know how to appraise beasts? Sigh, what a waste of a spot. How nice would it be if this spot was given to me? Which bastard is Yi Hao? Hurry up and get out here. Don't waste my time. The onlookers began to discuss animatedly. Some of them even cursed out loud. I'm here. A calm voice sounded. Yi Hao held Song Shanshan's hand and walked slowly towards the person who cursed at the beginning. What are you doing? This is the competition venue. Don't do anything rash. The person who cursed was also a first-level martial king. However, when he saw Yi Hao's gaze, he felt an inexplicable fear. He took a few steps back and asked anxiously. It's nothing. Yi Hao shook his head with a smile. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, the person who had spat out the vulgarities immediately felt that he had lost face. Seeing the smile on Yi Hao's face, he once again gathered his courage and boldly said, It's fine, you can go to your father. Bam! Before he could finish his sentence, Yi Hao suddenly attacked. It was as if a mountain had crashed into his chest. The person was instantly sent flying. Yi Hao walked in front of him and squatted down to look at him. The person who cursed did not expect this young boy, who looked younger than him, to be as strong as him. He kept backing away and said, Don't. I was wrong. I'm just telling you something. Yi Hao said softly as he squatted down. What thing? In his eyes, Yi Hao's smile was like the smile of a devil. At this moment, he was filled with regret. He should not have said such a thing. Otherwise, why would Yi Hao choose him out of hundreds of thousands of people? This Xia Hao is so young. And he's quite strong too. Looking at Yi Hao, who was squatting on the ground, some people's eyes were filled with fear, while others were filled with disdain. How dare you make a move here? Do you really not put us in your eyes? Elder Wan and Elder Li, who were sitting in the VIP seats, were already showing their dissatisfaction. Even Bai Qingshang, who had been smiling all this time, had a gloomy expression on his face. Chapter 184. When the Guo father and son saw this, they smiled smugly. Although this was still the beast appraisal competition, it was still the Thousand Beasts sex selection competition. Yi Hao's public attack was equivalent to Yi Hao not giving any face to the Thousand Beasts sect. The Guo father and son couldn't help but feel anticipation. If Yi Hao dared to kill anyone, Yi Hao would definitely be killed immediately. Keep your mouth clean and you'll live a long life. Don't scream for no reason. Only animals would scream for no reason, and animals are destined to be killed. Yi Hao stood up immediately after saying that. At the same time, he looked at Elder Li without a trace of fear in his eyes. Bastard! Hearing Yi Hao's words, Elder Li stood up immediately. In his opinion, Yi Hao was clearly scolding him by name. Moreover, Yi Hao's gaze made him very unhappy. No one had ever dared to look at him with such a gaze. Even some people who were stronger than him would be respectful to him if they knew he was from the Wan Shou sect. Yi Hao's disdainful gaze was as if he was looking down on him. It made him, who was used to being admired by others, feel very unhappy. Yi Hao chuckled as he looked at Elder Li. His mouth moved slightly as he spat out the word, idiot. You! Although Elder Li didn't hear Yi Hao's words, he could guess that Yi Hao was scolding him. He picked up his weapon and was about to pounce on Yi Hao. Kid, you're asking for it. Yi Hao's eyes narrowed as he prepared to summon his generals. During a battle, the system couldn't summon generals. However, as a precaution, Yi Hao had already summoned a peak martial spirit and a peak martial venerable. They were placed in Dragon Prison Lake just in case. Of course, the price was Yi Hao's last 1,500,000 soul points, which were basically all gone. Elder Li, don't make a move. This kid is still a contestant. Bai Qingshang immediately stopped Elder Li. This wasn't because Bai Qingshang had good intentions, but because he didn't know the details of Yi Hao's background and rashly made a move. If Yi Hao had a powerful backing behind him, it would undoubtedly cause trouble for the Thousand Beast sect. Moreover, Yi Hao's temperament and calm expression showed that he was not afraid. Hearing Bai Qingshang's voice in his mind, Elder Li stopped attacking and looked at Bai Qingshang. Bai Qingshang shook his head slightly. Elder Li glared at Yi Hao and said, "Hurry up and go participate in the competition. This elder will spare your life. I've never known how to scram in my entire life. Can you please show me how to scram?" Yi Hao could see that Elder Li was only a level 1 martial revered. Among the people present, Bai Qingshang was the strongest, but he was only a level 3 martial revered. Therefore, Yi Hao didn't feel the slightest pressure in his heart. Yi Hao was looking forward to it. If these people were to fight, then he would be able to gain a lot of experience. Elder Li's eyelids twitched. At first, he was hesitant about Yi Hao's words, but now that he saw how arrogant Yi Hao was, he couldn't help but have some doubts about Yi Hao's identity. Could it be that this kid is really a disciple of some big power? Or is he really not afraid of death? How boring! Yi Hao sighed and shook his head, then walked towards the mountain of demonic beast eggs. My God, so arrogant! He doesn't even give face to the Thousand Beast sect's elder. No wonder he dared to kill General Guozlan Bao. He's not even afraid of the Thousand Beast sect. Everyone looked at Yi Hao's confident figure, and their eyes flashed with admiration. Those who didn't know would think that Yi Hao was the Thousand Beast sect's young lord. There were hundreds of thousands of people present, and none of them didn't want to break their heads to enter the Thousand Beast sect. Yi Hao, on the other hand, didn't even give face to the elder. Is this kid really just the emperor of a duchy? Why does he look like the emperor of a dynasty? Mayor Song was sweating profusely for Yi Hao. He didn't know where Yi Hao got the capital to be so arrogant. In his eyes, not to mention the emperor of the duchy, even the nearby spirit kingdoms had to pay tribute to the Thousand Beasts sect every year. Even the emperor of the spirit kingdom would not dare to be so arrogant in front of Elder Li and the others. He had to be careful. According to Xiechunyu, Yi Hao was just the emperor of a duchy. He was starting to wonder if Xiechunyu had made a mistake. At this moment, Xiechunyu was also standing in the corner. She looked at Yi Hao, who had attracted everyone's attention. She was extremely curious. What other secrets does he have? It seems like I have to hold on to him tightly to get him to help me take revenge. Although Xiechunyu didn't know Yi Hao well, she knew that Yi Hao wasn't the kind of idiot who didn't have a trump card and was just relying on his brain. Xiechunyu had already noticed Yi Hao's bravery and resourcefulness the other day when Yi Hao had executed the officials by dismembering them as a warning to others. Otherwise, she wouldn't have thought of controlling Yi Hao. It was because she was interested in Yi Hao's intelligence. But now, she realized how ridiculous her thoughts were. Some people weren't easy to control. Sometimes, things would go in the opposite direction. Just like the way she spoke to Yi Hao just now, it had caused Yi Hao to be disgusted. If she wanted to control Yi Hao, it would be even more impossible. She finally understood why her father always said that the more mysterious a person was, the scarier they were. If Yi Hao was really that easy to control, Xiechunyu would have doubted if her choice was right. But now, it seemed like everything was progressing in a good direction. At the very least, there was already friction between Yi Hao and Elder Li. What he needed to do was to make this friction even more intense, so much so that it would ignite a raging fire that would burn down the Thousand Beasts sect. As for how big this fire would be, it would depend on Yi Hao's trump card and how rich it was. Looking at Yi Hao's back, Xiechunyu smiled as she led Yi Hao into the crowd. What she wanted was for Yi Hao to win first place in the beast appraisal competition. And the source of her confidence came from Master Xue. With that 40% chance, as long as Yi Hao had Master Xue's help, it was guaranteed that Yi Hao would surpass all obstacles and smoothly reach the end. At that time, as long as Master Xue admitted defeat, Yi Hao would be first place. By then, even the elders wouldn't be able to change the outcome. Even if Yi Hao didn't give them face, they couldn't go back on their words in public. That would be slapping the Thousand Beast sect's face in public. By then, no matter how unwilling the three elders were, they would have no choice but to let Yi Hao enter the Thousand Beast sect. As long as Yi Hao entered the Thousand Beast sect, half of her plan would be completed. Xiechunyu's plan was perfect. Unfortunately, she still didn't know that Master Xue had been bribed and wouldn't listen to her at all. Yi Hao walked into the arena. Looking at the millions of magical beast eggs, he was secretly shocked. At the same time, he was envious. If only he could bring all of these back to Yanlong, there would be enough to equip all of his soldiers. Then, Yi Hao used his probing skill. Ding dong, congratulations. You have detected a rank 1 magical beast, black snake, dead egg. Ding dong, congratulations. You have detected a rank 1 rank 7 magical beast, 100 lion, dead egg. F***ck me, this can't be. This is too much of a scam. No wonder they say this is a gamble. After probing dozens of times, the system kept telling him that all of the eggs were dead. Yi Hao was secretly glad that he had the probing skill. Otherwise, with so many eggs, who knew which one was alive? Yi Hao couldn't help but feel impressed when he saw the eggs being identified as alive from time to time. Aside from the difference in size, these eggs basically looked the same. Look at that miserable face of his. One look and I know he doesn't know how to appraise beasts. He's even here to embarrass himself. Guoringrue couldn't help but mock Yi Hao. Chapter 185. Kid, do you even know how to appraise beasts? If you don't, just give up. That's right. Although appraising beasts relies on luck, it also relies on true ability. Most people didn't think highly of Yi Hao. Because Yi Hao had angered Elderly, many people wanted to curry favor with Elderly. When they saw Yi Hao looking around as if he was shopping, they all mocked him. This was also because Yi Hao's detection skills were too powerful. These magical beast eggs were all low-level magical beasts. Yi Hao only needed to look at them to know if they were alive or dead. Others, on the other hand, would spend half a day observing each egg, or they would collect all the magical beast eggs that they thought were alive. Then, they would compare the eggs and carefully select the ones that were alive. Yi Hao's performance was just looking around casually in front of a pile of magical beast eggs. He didn't even stop to appraise them. It's all thanks to Mrs. Arrangements. Looks like this Yi Hao really doesn't know how to appraise beasts. Seeing Yi Hao walking around casually, he didn't look like a beast appraiser at all. It was obvious that he didn't take beast appraising seriously. Although beast appraising relied on luck, if one didn't have true ability and wanted to rely on luck, unless one was extremely lucky and was blessed by the heavens, the probability of picking out a living egg from hundreds of magical beast eggs was terrifyingly low. Moreover, because Yi Hao came with 10,000 people, most of the living eggs had been picked out. The probability of the remaining eggs was even lower. Haha, so this kid really wants to rely on luck. This is hilarious. If he can appraise a magical beast, I'll let him eat it raw, Guo Yingrui mocked loudly. As if afraid that Yi Hao couldn't hear him, Guo Yingrui purposely used martial arts to amplify his voice so that it could spread throughout the square. When Yi Hao heard Guo Yingrui's voice, he was stunned. He didn't expect Guo Yingrui to have such a hobby. Then, he turned around and picked up a magical beast egg that was half a meter long. He looked in Guo Yingrui's direction and smiled slightly. On the contrary, it caused Guo Yingrui to laugh even more wildly. Kid, don't tell me you think that the bigger the magic beast egg, the better the magic beast. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. Looks like I overestimated this brat. Bai Qingshang shook his head with a wry smile. Putting aside the fact that Yi Hao was so young, even if he was appraising beasts now, he wouldn't dare to casually choose beasts like Yi Hao did. After all, this was an experience that came from thousands of experiments. If he wasn't careful, he might be able to identify a dead egg. It wasn't that he couldn't make the same choice as Yi Hao, but he would have to bear some risks. If he didn't want to take any risks, he had to make his own observations. Elderly, you can do whatever you want with this kid. I won't interfere anymore. Through Yi Hao's actions, Bai Qingshang could tell that Yi Hao knew nothing about beast appraising. Otherwise, Yi Hao was just being bold. But was that even possible? How young was Yi Hao? Unless Yi Hao was a genius in beast appraising. No, I want to see what this brat can identify. Hearing the telepathic message in his mind, Elderly glared at Yi Hao furiously. Killing Yi Hao now wouldn't be enough to appease the anger in his heart. He wanted to humiliate Yi Hao in front of everyone. Only then would he make a move. Only then would he be able to quench the rage in his heart. Elderly, are you really not going to make a move? If this brat identifies the magic beast, you won't be able to make a move so easily. They didn't hide their telepathic message from Elder Wan. Elder Wan had also received benefits from the Guo family. If Elderly did not make a move, he himself would have made a move to kill Yi Hao. However, Bai Qingshang's words had caused him to be cautious. Now that Elderly had stepped forward, he was naturally willing to step aside and observe the situation. Elder Wan's words made Elderly ponder. Then, he looked at Yi Hao and shook his head, saying contemptuously, I don't believe that he can identify a magic beast egg with just a glance. This brat has no chance of advancing. As he spoke, Elderly clenched his fists tightly. Bai Qingshang said softly, That's good too. I'd like to see what other tricks this brat has up his sleeves. Hey bro, what are the rules of the competition? Yi Hao had already picked out a magic beast egg, but the system's notification still hadn't sounded, indicating that his mission was incomplete. Yi Hao walked up to a middle-aged man who was lying beside a magic beast egg and carefully observing it. The middle-aged man frowned for a moment, then went wild with joy in the next moment. When Yi Hao saw this scene, he immediately used appraisal. Ding dong, peak rank 3, white feather tiger, dead egg. Yi Hao finally understood why the middle-aged man was so infatuated with this egg. It was because this egg was considered the best out of the millions of magic beast eggs. Unfortunately, this magic beast egg was dead. There's no need to look. This is a dead egg. Seeing that the middle-aged man didn't seem to notice him, Yi Hao said softly, "Who are you? What right do you have to say that this is a dead egg? Don't tell me you want to snatch my magic beast egg?" The middle-aged man was instantly enraged by Yi Hao's words. No one wanted to have their choice of magic beast egg criticized by others. Following which, the middle-aged man hugged the magic beast egg with a cautious expression, as if he was afraid that Yi Hao would snatch it away from him. Then, he saw Yi Hao's young appearance and immediately showed an impatient expression. "Go away, where did this brat come from? When I was appraising magic beasts, you were still nowhere." In my opinion, this is definitely a rank 3 magic beast egg. It's very likely that it's a living egg. Alright, don't get so worked up. I just want to know the rules of the competition. Yi Hao was speechless when he saw the middle-aged man hugging the magic beast egg so tightly. However, everyone else was appraising magic beasts. As long as the middle-aged man paid attention to him, Yi Hao had no choice but to continue asking. "Don't tell me you're Xia Hao?" The middle-aged man finally let down his guard. He believed that no one would dare to snatch his egg in public in this competition venue. He could only blame himself for being so excited because it was his first time appraising such a good egg. This time, it was Yi Hao's turn to be stunned. Inside the competition venue, he had no idea what was happening outside. How did this middle-aged man recognize him? "How did you know?" The middle-aged man looked at Yi Hao and rolled his eyes. There was a hint of admiration in his voice as he said, "Kid, I have to hand it to you. You even dared to be late for the 1000 Beast Sex Beast Appraisal competition. You must be the only one who dares to be late. Otherwise, why don't you know the rules when everyone else knows?" Ugh! Yi Hao didn't expect this middle-aged man to be so good at analyzing things. The rules of the competition are to choose 2 magic beast eggs. As long as one of them is alive, you'll advance to the next round. It's that simple? Yi Hao nodded in disbelief because he didn't find it difficult at all. Chapter 186. What? That's easy? The middle-aged man was enraged by Yi Hao's words. He roared, attracting the attention of many people. Then, he lowered his head and began to pick the eggs. "Isn't that easy?" Yi Hao asked in surprise. The middle-aged man looked at the egg in Yi Hao's arms and pursed his lips. He couldn't even be bothered to look at an egg like this. He couldn't believe that Yi Hao would pick one like this. The middle-aged man quickly waved his hand and said, "Go play by yourself. Don't disturb me while I'm picking." In the middle-aged man's eyes, Yi Hao was just a good-for-nothing rich kid who came here to join in the fun. He wasn't here to appraise beasts at all. But let me remind you, you better appraise beasts well. As long as the egg is still alive, that egg will belong to you. Even if you don't enter the Wand Show sect, it's still a good reward, the middle-aged man reminded him as soon as he lowered his head. Thank you. Yi Hao didn't expect the middle-aged man to remind him. It seemed that this man had a good character. Yi Hao looked at the egg in the middle-aged man's arms as if it was a treasure. Yi Hao couldn't bear to see him fail to advance, so he reminded him, "If I were you, I wouldn't choose the egg in your arms. If I were you, I would choose the one beside it." The middle-aged man waved his hand, unwilling to entertain Yi Hao. He had seen the egg beside it before. It was not as good as the one in his arms. Yi Hao waved his hand helplessly. He didn't like to owe others. The middle-aged man told him about the competition and kindly reminded him. As a form of repayment, Yi Hao reminded him. As for whether the middle-aged man believed him or not, it was none of his business. Little brother, you must be Prince Xia Hao. Just as Yi Hao was about to randomly choose an egg, a man in a black robe walked up to Yi Hao and asked with a smile. Yes. Yi Hao turned to the man and asked, May I know who you are? You still don't know? The man was confused, but he immediately explained with a smile. Perhaps City Lord Song didn't have time to tell you. I was sent by City Lord Song to help you. My name is Xueji. Help me? Yi Hao turned his head and looked in the direction of the VIP seat. City Lord Song nodded slightly. It seemed that what Xueji said was true. These are the 2 magic beast eggs I picked out. I can't say that they're 100% alive, but at least 80%. Xueji took out 2 magic beast eggs that looked pretty good and handed them to Yi Hao. Hearing Xueji's confidence, Yi Hao was curious. He immediately used probing, and the answer he received made his expression turn awkward. Yi Hao looked at the smiling Xueji, not knowing what to say. Seeing Yi Hao's sour expression, although Xueji forced a smile, he was still worried that Yi Hao would find out. Fortunately, he was prepared. He immediately took out another 2 magic beast eggs and handed them to Yi Hao reluctantly. Young Master Xia, you trust me, right? Then I'll give these 2 magic beast eggs to you. Young Master Xia, you won't suspect that the magic beast eggs I picked out for myself are fake, right? These are rank 3 magic beast eggs, and I was planning to use them for myself. Yi Hao used probing again and realized that these 2 pills were fake as well. Yi Hao was furious. What were City Lord Song and Song Shanshan doing? Did they know that he didn't know how to appraise beasts, so they purposely found someone who didn't know anything to mess with him? Master Xue, why are you here? The middle-aged man who was lying on the ground studying his magic beast egg accidentally noticed Xueji. He asked in surprise, Master Xue, can you help me take a look at this magic beast egg of mine? The middle-aged man wasn't sure about his magic beast egg either. Now that he finally saw a master beast appraiser, he didn't even bother asking. All right, I'll take a look at it for you. Xueji didn't want to bother with the middle-aged man at first, but now that he saw that Yi Hao didn't seem to trust him, he wanted to show off his skills to convince Yi Hao. Xueji walked up to the magic beast egg and studied it for a long time. Then he smiled and said, Congratulations. If I'm not mistaken, this is the egg of a rank 3 magic beast, a white feather tiger. If it grows up, it might even reach the level of a martial king. Really? The middle-aged man was delighted. At the same time, he looked at Yi Hao proudly. What he meant was, Kid, how dare you say that my egg isn't good? But Xueji's words immediately made the middle-aged man's heart jump to his throat. What's wrong, Master Xue? The middle-aged man looked at the magic beast egg in his arms in shock. Then, he looked at Yi Hao, thinking that it was impossible. How could Yi Hao tell that this was a dead egg with just one look? The middle-aged man pricked up his ears and listened intently to Xueji's words. There's only a 50% chance that this magic beast egg is alive. But it's worth a gamble. Xueji didn't dare to boast, so he spoke the truth. After all, he had a high probability of guessing the eggs of rank 1 and 2 magic beasts. But he wasn't so confident about guessing the eggs of a rank 3 magic beast. That's good. The middle-aged man breathed a sigh of relief. Although there was only a 50% chance, it was still better than being told by Yi Hao that it was a dead egg. Moreover, he really should take a gamble. A rank 3 magic beast was something that could only be found by chance. If he won the bet, then he would be rich. As for the top 10, the chances were very slim for him. Yi Hao stood behind Xueji with a slight frown on his face. He initially thought that Xueji knew nothing about beast appraising, but the fact that Xueji was able to name a magical beast egg proved that he was truly knowledgeable. If it weren't for his appraisal skill, he wouldn't have been able to tell what kind of magic beast egg this was. When these magic beast eggs were born, the mother's body would produce some strange mucus that would wrap around the outside of the eggs. Hence, other than the size, these magic beast eggs were almost identical. But this Xueji could tell that this was a white feather tiger's egg just by observing it. This meant that Xueji had real skills. Moreover, Xueji was only 50% confident about this magic beast egg. He didn't say that it was a living egg, nor did he say that it was a dead egg. This meant that Xueji was a reliable person. As for the fact that he couldn't tell if it was a living egg, it could only mean that Xueji's skills weren't that good. After all, no matter how good one's eyes were or how powerful one's skills were, it was impossible to tell if an egg was alive or not. If Xueji could tell at a glance whether a magic beast egg was obtained or not, then it could only mean that Xueji was too nature-defying. Yi Hao would suspect that Xueji had a system. However, Xueji could clearly identify the type of rank 3 magic beast egg. So why did he say that the 2 eggs he gave him were rank 3 magic beast eggs? They were clearly the lowest level magic beast eggs. There's definitely something fishy going on here. Yi Hao initially guessed that Xie Chunyu had deliberately hired someone to humiliate him. But now, it seemed like that wasn't the case. If she wanted to find someone, she didn't have to find an expert. She could have just found an old man with a magic beast egg to deceive him. An old man would definitely be more convincing than Xueji since he didn't know him anyway. Moreover, Yi Hao analyzed it carefully. Humiliating him wouldn't benefit Xie Chunyu at all. It would only worsen their relationship, so there was no need for Xie Chunyu to do this. Chapter 187. Yi Hao thought about it carefully. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that someone else must have interfered with this. But who? Yi Hao turned around slightly. When he saw Guo Yingrui's gloating expression, he more or less understood the situation. Young Master Xia, you should believe me now. Don't worry, I guarantee that these magical beast eggs are all alive, Xueji said as he stood up, noticing that no one had turned to look at him. What? The middle-aged man rubbed his ears and looked at Yi Hao in astonishment. Little brother, it can't be. You don't even want the magic beast eggs that Grandmaster Xue identified? If Grandmaster Xue can guarantee that these magic beast eggs are alive, then they are definitely alive. Yi Hao didn't expect Master Xue to be so famous that he still had a die-hard fan. If it weren't for his heaven-defying detection skill, he might have really believed Master Xueji. Yi Hao smiled politely. So it was City Lord Song who sent you here to help me. Why wouldn't I believe you? Yi Hao pretended to be conflicted as he looked at the 4 eggs, unsure of which to choose. Xueji sneered inwardly at this, knowing that Yi Hao was about to fall for his trick. In order to make Yi Hao choose quickly, Xueji pretended to be in a difficult position and said, Young Master Xia, these are all good eggs. I really can't bear to give them to you. Why don't I pick 2 first? Having said that, Xueji casually picked up 2 eggs. Yi Hao couldn't help but be impressed by Xueji's acting talent. However, in order to put on an act, Yi Hao immediately snatched the 2 eggs from Xueji's arms. No, these 2 are mine. Yi Hao looked like a monkey in a hurry. He hugged the 2 eggs and ran away. Xueji stood behind him, watching Yi Hao's anxious figure with a sneer on his lips. The middle-aged man looked at Yi Hao enviously. If only he could also get the 2 magic beast eggs that Master Xue had given him. Suddenly, the middle-aged man picked up one of the magic beast eggs and asked Xueji, Master Xue, can you help me take a look at this magic beast egg? Xueji glanced at him impatiently, thinking, do you really think I'm a free beast appraiser? If it weren't for Yi Hao's trust, I wouldn't have bothered with you. Xueji looked at the egg in the middle-aged man's hand. It didn't look too good, so he lost his interest. The middle-aged man didn't mind Xueji's tone. After all, he was a master beast appraiser. Upon hearing Xueji's words, the middle-aged man immediately tossed the low-grade magical beast egg aside. He was now even more certain that Yi Hao was lying to him because this was the magical beast egg Yi Hao was talking about. Your eggs. Seeing that Xue Ji didn't look back, the middle-aged man's face showed a look of ecstasy. He immediately held the 2 eggs in his arms. After struggling for a long time, he chose one of them and hid the other one in the mountain of eggs. He already had one, so he could only choose one more. But he didn't want to let others get it so easily. The middle-aged man left happily with the 2 eggs in his arms. As for the egg that Yi Hao said wasn't bad, it was left alone in the pile. Soon, a young man walked over with a gloomy expression. The more I said I didn't want to join the Thousand Beasts sect, the more I said I didn't want to join. That damned old man of mine insisted that I participate in the competition. What should I do if I get into the top 10? If anyone else heard this, they would have beaten him to death. Everyone else was racking their brains to join the Thousand Beasts sect, but this guy was thinking about how to get eliminated. I Ching was very depressed. Her sister was in the Thousand Beasts sect. If she entered the Thousand Beasts sect, wouldn't she be tortured by her sister again? It wasn't easy for her to be free for 2 years. She didn't want to fall into the hands of that violent sister again. According to his character, he would have just given up. But his father knew his character very well and warned him 100 times. If he dared to give up, he would be kicked out of the house and left on the street. This egg isn't bad. I Ching wandered around the competition venue, thinking about how to not advance. Suddenly, she saw the lonely magic beast egg on the ground. I Ching quickly walked to it. I Ching squatted down and picked up the egg. The more she looked at it, the happier she was. Although I don't know much about eggs, I know that the worse the condition of the egg, the higher the chance of it being a dead egg. I Ching's eyes lit up. She finally had a way to not advance. She was afraid that she would pick a living egg, but the egg in her heart gave her an idea. As long as she picked 2 eggs in bad condition, the chances of it being a living egg would be greatly reduced. I Ching looked like she had found a treasure. She hugged the egg in her arms and prepared to find another one. Yi Hao hugged the 2 eggs and walked to a corner where no one was around. He threw the 2 dead eggs to the side. Yi Hao originally wanted to casually pick another magical beast egg, but he suddenly changed his mind. He found that everyone had their heads lowered, carefully observing the magical beast eggs in their hands, and there were some places that couldn't be seen from the VIP seat. As for the audience, they could only see the beast appraisers stand but not the competition area. Although these eggs were all low-rank eggs, they were still worth thousands of gold coins. If he wanted to equip his troops with these eggs, he would need a huge sum of money. Money that he couldn't possibly come up with in a short period of time. Among the millions of eggs, there were at least tens of thousands of living eggs. If he were to take all of them away, he would be saving himself a lot of money. Yi Hao's lips curled into a sly smile. He couldn't stand elderly anyway, so he might as well take some of their eggs as compensation. If other people were to find the 1% of living eggs among these millions of eggs, it would undoubtedly be a huge undertaking. But to Yi Hao, all he had to do was take a quick glance. Yi Hao took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to place all the living eggs into the system space. His movements were very fast, and the others were all lowering their heads to study. Even if some magical beast eggs were missing, no one would notice at all. Yi Hao didn't care if it was a Class 1 magical beast or a Class 3 magical beast. As long as it was a living egg, he threw it all into the system space. There were even a few Class 4 magical beast eggs, which surprised him. Looks like it's really difficult to identify these eggs. Otherwise, the Thousand Beast sect wouldn't have missed out on a few rank 4 eggs. Yi Hao's actions undoubtedly made things worse for the participants. Most of them were just trying their luck. That 1% chance was already pitifully small. Now that Yi Hao had stolen all the living eggs, those who could advance to the next round were undoubtedly the most capable. For more than an hour, Yi Hao had stolen more than 5,000 eggs. Even if he sold them all for gold coins, it would still be a huge sum of money. Chapter 188. Everyone knew how precious demonic beasts were, but very few people would think of popularizing demonic beasts in the army. This was because a small number of demonic beasts wouldn't be of much use even if they were placed in the army. And if every soldier had a demonic beast, the price would be too high for many countries to bear. After all, if a soldier was paired with a demonic beast of the same level, their combat strength wouldn't be as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Little ball, keep an eye out for me. Inform me immediately if anyone approaches me. Yi Hao said to Dragon Prison Lake's weapon spirit as he observed others while stealing demonic beast eggs. It was too slow. Don't worry. Dragon Prison Lake's weapon spirit released a trace of spiritual consciousness and covered Yi Hao's body. As for the giant dragon, it had already fallen into a deep slumber. Yi Hao was secretly envious of the giant dragon. Just by sleeping, it could raise its cultivation level. Now that the giant dragon's cultivation level had risen to rank 1 martial honor, all it had to do was sleep, and it could rise from martial spirit to rank 1 martial honor. There was no need for it to cultivate. In fact, this was also because the giant dragon's cultivation level was already at martial saint level. However, due to its severe injuries, its cultivation level fell instantly. Although its injuries had healed, its cultivation level still needed time to recover. However, it was much easier than cultivating in the past. All it had to do was close its eyes and sleep, and its cultivation level would slowly recover. Pick up eggs. Pick up 1 or 2 eggs. Yi Hao's eyes kept glancing at the mountain of demonic beast eggs. Not a single living egg was left behind. It was like plucking feathers from a wild goose. He couldn't help but hum happily. The competition has ended. All remaining contestants, please gather at the beast appraisal booth. Otherwise, the competition will be considered a failure. Another half a day passed. Yi Hao was the last to enter the competition area. Most of the contestants who had entered earlier had already reached their result. Meanwhile, Yi Hao was still strolling around the competition area. There were less than 100 contestants left in the competition area. Hearing the voice in the air, Yi Hao had no choice but to stop in his tracks. He had basically placed all the demonic beast eggs he could find into his space. Now, he was regretting not joining the competition earlier so that he could steal more eggs. Just like that, more than 20,000 demonic beast eggs appeared in his space. These were all living demonic beast eggs, not a single one of them was dead. Among them, there were more than 10,000 Tier 1 magical beast eggs. There were over 8,000 Class 2 magical beast eggs, less than 2,000 Class 3 magical beast eggs, over 100 Class 4 magical beast eggs, and 2 Class 5 magical beast eggs. One had to know that a level 5 magical beast egg corresponded to a human's martial spirit realm. In other words, Yi Hao had 2 more martial spirit realm helpers for no reason. Sometimes, using a magical beast was even more convenient than using a martial artist. In fact, Yi Hao should have been done a long time ago. Just these few piles of magical beast mountain. He had gone back and forth no less than 3 times, just in case he had missed any eggs. Yi Hao also didn't want to attract the attention of the Thousand Beasts sect. After all, he had stolen over 20,000 of their living eggs. If they found out, they would definitely jump out and hunt him down. For safety's sake, Yi Hao only took the large egg he had picked at the beginning. Then, he randomly picked another egg from the pile of eggs and headed to the beast appraiser's seat. When Yi Hao arrived at the beast appraiser's seat, he instantly attracted everyone's attention. Many of them were here to see if Yi Hao could pick a magical beast egg. Yi Hao looked around the beast appraiser's seat, but didn't see Xueji. It seemed like the competition had ended. At this moment, there were less than 100 contestants left on the stage. To Yi Hao's surprise, The middle-aged man from the beginning was standing not too far away from him. Yi Hao looked at the two magical beast eggs in the middle-aged man's arms and smiled bitterly. Naturally, he could recognize those two eggs at first glance. One of them was the dead egg of the white feather tiger, while the other was the dead egg that Xueji used to trick him. Now, the middle-aged man was holding them in his arms like they were precious treasures. Yi Hao inadvertently noticed a young man in front of him hugging two magical beast eggs and praying. He looked like a student about to enter an exam hall. Yi Hao couldn't help but sigh as if he was reminded of his own school days. "Hey, brother, you don't have to go that far, do you? Isn't it just a competition?" Yi Hao patted I Ching's shoulder with a smile. "What do you mean, don't have to go that far? This concerns my future." I Ching was a natural socializer. She didn't care if he knew Yi Hao or not, so she put on a long face and said exaggeratedly, "Don't tell me your family forced you to come here?" Yi Hao looked at the young man's clothes and guessed that he was from a wealthy family. "Brother, you're too smart. Don't tell me you're the same?" I Ching looked at Yi Hao as if they were in the same boat. Yi Hao sighed internally. No matter which world he was in, parents would always worry about their children the most. Yi Hao couldn't help but think of Yi Batian. Clenching his fists, he said, "Father, I will rescue you personally and seek justice for you. Also, I wonder how Mo is doing." In Yi Hao's eyes, this I Ching must be a filial child. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so nervous. Thinking of this, Yi Hao couldn't help but want to help her. However, when Yi Hao saw the magical beast egg in I Ching's arms, he was stunned. Could it be that he's also well versed in beast appraising? Otherwise, no normal person would choose this egg unless they're an idiot. Yi Hao recognized this magical beast egg at first glance. It was the egg he had recommended to the middle-aged man. Because this magical beast egg wasn't in good condition and there were even some moldy spots on it, one wouldn't choose this egg unless they had a certain level of foundation in beast appraising. Although this magical beast egg wasn't in good condition, it was indeed a rank 3 peak magical beast. If it weren't for the middle-aged man, Yi Hao would have kept this magical beast egg. What surprised him was that this magical beast egg was in I Ching's hands. This I Ching didn't look much older than him. Could it be that one really shouldn't judge a book by its cover? Yi Hao hurriedly used a probing spell on the other magical beast egg in I Ching's hands. In the end, when Yi Hao saw the exterior of this magical beast egg, it was in worse condition than the previous one. Even Yi Hao didn't have high hopes for this magical beast egg. In the end, the system's information made Yi Hao sigh. Although it was only a rank 1 magical beast, it was still a living egg. What an expert! Yi Hao looked at I Ching in shock. Others would choose eggs in good condition because they had a higher chance of being a living egg. However, this I Ching had chosen eggs in bad condition, and all of them were living eggs. Even some masters wouldn't dare to do this. Seeing I Ching's nervous expression, Yi Hao hurriedly consoled her. "Brother, don't worry. You must trust your own judgment." I Ching looked at the two magical beast eggs in her arms and nodded deeply. She thought to herself, "These two magical beast eggs are in bad condition. They're definitely not living eggs. Otherwise, the heavens would want me dead." Chapter 189. Yi Hao took a long look at I Ching. So there were still hidden geniuses in this world. With just a glance, he knew that his magical beast egg was not as good as his. Yi Hao knew the condition of his two eggs. One was a dead egg while the other was only a rank 2 egg. Indeed, they couldn't compare to I Ching's egg. "Hey, move aside. I'll show you what beast appraising is." Just as Yi Hao was about to continue his discussion with I Ching, the middle-aged man's arrogant voice came from the front, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Noticing everyone's gazes, the middle-aged man couldn't help but puff out his chest even more. He was full of confidence in his egg. This egg looks pretty good. There's a high chance that it's still alive. Looks like this person has a high chance of advancing. Attracted by the middle-aged man's voice, many people shifted their gazes to the white feather tiger egg and expressed their opinions. Hearing the crowd's discussion, the middle-aged man was even more satisfied. To better express himself, he said in disdain, "This is the egg of a peak rank 3 spirit beast, a white feather tiger. The chances of it being alive are very high." Hearing the middle-aged man's words, many people looked at him with admiration and started discussing again. So he's an expert beast appraiser. Since he knows the breed of the egg, the chances of failure are much lower. I'm so envious. There were less than 20 people who identified a rank 3 demonic beast today, and now there's another one. Hearing the middle-aged man easily identify the demonic beast's breed, the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect looked over curiously. A soldier handed the middle-aged man a purplish-red jade token. The middle-aged man took the jade token, pricked his finger, and squeezed out a drop of blood onto the token. Then, he quickly placed the token on top of the demonic beast egg. The jade token emitted a golden glow that enveloped the demonic beast egg. The image of a white tiger appeared on the egg. It really is a peak rank 3 spirit beast, a white feather tiger. Seeing the image on the demonic beast egg, many people shouted excitedly. Even the middle-aged man was so excited that his heart almost jumped out of his throat. The middle-aged man had already seen Yi Hao. He turned around and gave Yi Hao a proud smile. Yi Hao didn't say anything. He just pouted and gestured for the middle-aged man to look at the magical beast egg. The middle-aged man sneered disdainfully. When he turned around, he was stunned. In the Myriad Kingdom continent there were 2 ways to contract a magical beast egg. One way was to contract it directly on the magical beast egg, and the other way was to use the purple-red jade token. Like the first way, the magical beast could not be transferred. Over time, the first way disappeared. The second method was to use the jade token contract, which didn't have so many restrictions. On the contrary, it was easier to use. The manufacturing of the purple-red jade token was very simple, and the price was very cheap. The method to use it only required the first drop of blood on the jade token. Furthermore, even if he didn't want this magical beast, he could just erase his aura from the jade token and hand it over to someone else. If the contract was successful, the shadow on the magic beast egg would enter the purple-red medium jade card, and the magic beast egg would hatch automatically. If the magic beast egg was dead, the jade card would not react, and the shadow would not appear on the magic beast egg. As long as the shadow appeared, the egg would basically hatch successfully. However, on the middle-aged man's magic beast egg, the shadow of the white feather tiger did not enter the jade token. Instead, it appeared very weak. Then, the shadow broke, and the magic beast egg also broke. The purple-red jade token fell to the ground again. Ah! How could this be? Seeing the magic beast egg break, the middle-aged man obviously couldn't accept the fact. He held his head and ran away. Suddenly, the middle-aged man looked at Yi Hao with hatred. His eyes were full of anger. "Boy, is it you? Did you do something? My white feather tiger! Get lost!" Yi Hao kicked the middle-aged man who was rushing towards him. "Stop, although this phenomenon is rare, it is not impossible. It can only be said that your luck is bad. God is playing a joke on you." Bai Qingshang looked at the middle-aged man with a pitiful look and coughed twice. When the middle-aged man heard Bai Qingshang's words, he didn't dare to mess around anymore. From Yi Hao's kick, he knew that he was not Yi Hao's opponent. He could only pin his hopes on another magic beast egg. "Wait, I still have a chance. I will succeed this time." The middle-aged man frantically placed Shui Ji's magic beast egg on the appraisal table and dripped another drop of blood on the purple-red jade token. However, this time there was no reaction at all. The middle-aged man stared blankly at the magic beast egg in front of him, muttering "impossible" under his breath. These 2 magic beast eggs were appraised by Shui Ji. How could they be dead eggs? Seeing the middle-aged man's reaction, everyone was used to it. After all, this was a roller coaster ride. If the white feather tiger really hatched, the middle-aged man's status would be extraordinary. There were less than 20 people who appraised rank 3 magic beasts today. If the middle-aged man's appraisal was successful, his chances of entering the 1,000 Beasts sect would be reduced to half. Who knew that God was playing with him? The respect and admiration in this world was reserved for the strong and the successful. Previously, when they saw the middle-aged man's expression, many people spoke to him in a flattering tone. Now, only a few people had pity in their eyes. Instead, most of them were looking at him with mockery. Looking at the middle-aged man's reaction, Yi Hao shook his head slightly. This was all his own fault. Yi Hao had already advised him, but the middle-aged man refused to listen. In the end, he almost blamed everything on Yi Hao. What a joke! Yi Hao had no pity for people like this. If there was anyone to blame, the middle-aged man could only blame himself. I Ching looked at the middle-aged man enviously. She cried out excitedly, "Damn, he's too lucky!" I Ching's excited voice immediately attracted a round of eye rolls. They thought I Ching was adding insult to injury. I Ching listened to the discussions around her. She pursed her lips and muttered softly, "What do you know? I wish those 2 eggs were mine. That way I can report back to my superiors." Regarding I Ching's reaction, Yi Hao did not find it strange. After all, everyone had their own personality. He only thought that I Ching was too young and impetuous. She did not think before speaking. Who wouldn't know that I Ching was really envious of the middle-aged man? "Brother, why don't you go in front of me? I'm a little nervous." Seeing that it was almost her turn, I Ching was embarrassed and asked Yi Hao. "Okay." Yi Hao nodded. It was the same standing there. He already knew the result. Chapter 190. At first, Yi Hao was only after the 100,000 experience points, but now, he had no choice but to join the 1,000 Beasts sect to investigate the cause of Xie father's death. Hence, he had to change his plans. He knew that he came out to search for a holy pill to restore the Nangong Wentian's mental state. More importantly, he needed to improve his cultivation. Initially, he had no intention of joining the 1,000 Beasts sect. But now that he wanted to investigate the cause of Xie father's death, he had no choice but to join the 1,000 Beasts sect. Initially, he wanted to simply pick 2 dead eggs to complete his mission. But now, it seemed like that wasn't going to work. Moreover, Guo Yingrui had long been an eyesore. How dare he provoke him by saying that he would eat the demonic beasts as long as he appraised them? Yi Hao didn't mind watching Guo Yingrui suffer. Yi Hao already knew the outcome. He didn't have much anticipation and placed the 2 demonic beast eggs on the evaluation table. The guard handed him a purplish-red jade token. He squeezed a drop of blood onto the token. As expected, the first demonic beast egg was a dead egg. "Kid, I thought you were capable. Turns out you can only pick a few dead eggs." Guo Yingrui already knew this outcome. After all, Master Xue had already been bribed. In his eyes, these 2 demonic beast eggs were definitely dead eggs. "Kid, if your next egg is also a dead egg, don't blame me for being rude." Elder Li's eyes carried a hint of joy. When he saw Guo Yingrui's expression, he knew that Guo Yingrui was up to something. "What's going on?" Xie Chunyu asked in confusion. She had changed into a servant's outfit and slipped to City Lord Song's side. City Lord Song was also surprised. He said in distress, "We might have been tricked by the Guo family. That Master Xue disappeared after the competition. I thought he had something to do, but it seems like he doesn't dare to see me. That damn thing." Xie Chunyu clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. "What should we do? If Yi Hao advances, Elder Li won't be able to make a move easily. If Yi Hao fails, he will definitely be killed by Elder Li." City Lord Song had no other choice and asked anxiously. "I don't know either. Since the one surnamed Xue has been bribed, then the remaining one is definitely dead." Xie Chunyu shook her head angrily. Looking at Yi Hao, she suddenly made up her mind and said, "If that elderly makes a move, I will save him. But young miss, they are all revered martial artists. That Bai Qingshang is even a third-order revered martial artist." Mayor Song's eyes were incomparably solemn as he worriedly advised. "There's no other way. When the time comes, Grandpa Song, take your family and run as far as you can. Don't ever come back." Xie Chunyu bit her lower lip and shook her head slightly, revealing the purple umbrella in her arms. "All right, miss, you have to promise." City Lord Song thought hard for a moment. When he saw Xie Chunyu's determined expression, City Lord Song knew that no matter how he tried to persuade her, it would be useless. He could only nod his head heavily. "Don't talk nonsense. I only want to ask you, are you serious?" Yi Hao looked at Guo Yingrui with contempt and asked softly. Yi Hao's words stunned everyone. Guo Yingrui blurted out, "What is it?" "If I appraise a magical beast and you eat it," Yi Hao deliberately said loudly, looking at Guo Yingrui with ridicule. Guo Yingrui saw that everyone's gaze was on him. He couldn't help but sneer at Yi Hao. "You can't be thinking that you can still appraise a living magical beast, right?" Guo Yingrui was full of confidence in Yi Hao's 2 dead eggs. This was because he had faith in Master Shui's ability. Although he wasn't as good as their family's trump card, he was still considered outstanding. Yi Hao waved his hand and asked impatiently, "I'm asking you, are you serious?" "Yes, but what if you can't appraise a magical beast?" Guo Yingrui asked with a smile. Yi Hao curled his lips. "If I can't appraise a magical beast, will you let me go?" Yi Hao's self-awareness stunned everyone. Guo Yingrui smiled and said, "That's true. As long as this egg is also dead, even Elder Li won't let you go." Guo Yingrui knew that he wasn't Yi Hao's opponent, so he took Elder Li along with him. Although Elder Li was unhappy that Guo Yingrui used him as a shield, he also wanted to kill Yi Hao, so he didn't refute. "He's right. You humiliated me, and you deserve to die 100 times. But I'll give you a chance. As long as you appraise a living magical beast, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, okay, I'm serious. As long as you appraise a magical beast, I'll directly swallow your magical beast." Guo Yingrui said with a smile. Guo Yingrui knew that he couldn't give in at this time. If he gave in now, he would lose all his dignity in Beast King City. Yi Hao didn't waste any time. He sneered and walked to the side of the magical beast egg. He picked up the purple-red jade token and dripped a drop of blood on it. Ding-dong, the host's blood contains a trace of dragon's blood. The magical beast egg has mutated. Yi Hao was deeply surprised by the system's notification. He actually had dragon's blood in his body. It seemed that it had something to do with him eating raw dragon meat. But he didn't know if this mutation was good or bad. If it was bad, wouldn't he have no fate with the magical beast egg in the future? Yi Hao was worried. The blood entered the magical beast egg through the jade token. Because the magical beast had mutated, the magical beast egg didn't immediately project a projection. Instead, it looked ordinary, as if it had failed. "Ha ha, Xia Hao, what else do you have to say? This is another dead egg." Seeing the appearance of the magical beast egg, Guo Yingrui already knew the answer. But seeing the result, he still let out a sigh of relief. One had to know that magic beasts came in different sizes. Even if he swallowed a small magic beast, he might not be able to do it. Even some normal magic beasts were bigger than humans. If he really had to swallow a magic beast, he might as well kill it. "Kid, do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?" Elder Li looked at Guo Yingrui with satisfaction, then stared at Yi Hao and asked. "Ha ha ha!" Yi Hao suddenly laughed loudly. "What are you laughing at?" Many people saw Yi Hao suddenly laugh. Elder Li said disdainfully, "If you still want to play dumb at this time, it's too late. I'm laughing at you, a dignified elder of the Thousand Beasts sect, don't even know this. Who told you that my magical beast egg is dead?" Yi Hao looked at Elderly mockingly and retorted rudely. Humph. Elderly snorted coldly. He looked around and said loudly, everyone knows that if a magical beast egg is alive, there will be a projection during the contract. Your egg has no reaction at all. If it's not a dead egg, what is it? Chapter 191. Elderly looked at Yi Hao mockingly and said with a smile, let's not talk about him. If your magical beast egg can produce a living magical beast, then I'll eat it with him. Elderly glanced at the unresponsive magical beast egg and pointed at Guo Yingrui. Kid, don't tell me you're questioning Elderly's words? Someone started to laugh and looked at Yi Hao mockingly. Yi Hao walked up to the magical beast egg. He was a little nervous. He could receive this magical beast egg because it had a strong will to live. But he wasn't sure what kind of magical beast the egg could produce. Yi Hao, under everyone's contemptuous gaze, reached out his hand and gently knocked on the shell of the magical beast egg. Haha, I've never seen a contracted magical beast that needs help to break the shell, Guo Yingrui mocked again. Even Mayor Song couldn't understand what Yi Hao was trying to do. Crack, just as Elderly was about to make a move, a cracking sound was heard. A huge crack appeared on Yi Hao's magical beast egg, attracting everyone's attention. The smiles on Guo Yingrui and Elderly's faces froze as they looked at Yi Hao's magical beast egg in disbelief. At this moment, the purple-red jade plate was emitting a dazzling purple-red light that enveloped the entire magical beast egg. No one could see the light inside. When Xie Chunyu and City Lord Song saw this scene, they immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Xie Chunyu quickly hid the purple umbrella that had already revealed its handle. Mayor Song couldn't help but praise, this Yi Hao is really not ordinary. No matter what magical beast he identifies, it will be promoted this time. Elderly can't make a move so easily. Elder Bai, will a magical beast egg have such a phenomenon? Elder Wan, who was standing next to Bai Qingshang, didn't look too good, but he still asked curiously. Bai Qingshang revealed a look of reminiscence and said, I've seen it in the sex records. Usually, only mutated magical beasts will have such a phenomenon, but what? Elder Wan looked at Bai Qingshang's hesitant and puzzled face and asked. But mutated magical beasts are something that can only be encountered by chance. Ordinary people would not be able to tell. Even I don't have that ability. So how can this Yi Hao be so sure that this magical beast egg will definitely hatch into a magical beast? Bai Qingshang had been paying attention to the changes in Yi Hao's expression. Since Yi Hao dared to bet with Guo Yingrui, it meant that he was full of confidence in this magical beast egg. However, not everyone could be sure about the survival of the magical beast egg. For example, the magical beast egg just now did not change at all. If it was a normal person, they would have panicked. On the contrary, Yi Hao was full of confidence in the magical beast egg. Bai Qingshang looked at Yi Hao with a flicker of light in his eyes. Everyone knew that mutated magical beasts could only be encountered by chance. That was because mutated magical beasts were much stronger than magical beasts of the same level. Their price was also several times higher. However, no one could grasp the trick to identifying mutated magical beast eggs. Bai Qingshang was now suspecting that Yi Hao might have the trick to identify mutated magical beast eggs. But after giving it some thought, he felt that his idea was ridiculous. If there was such a method, it should have existed in the world of 10,000 kingdoms. How could it be on a young man like him? Roar! The purplish-red light disappeared, revealing a giant creature. A giant elephant that was almost 3 meters tall appeared in front of everyone. The giant elephant walked to Yi Hao's side and used its long trunk to touch Yi Hao's shoulder intimately. Yi Hao borrowed the strength of the giant elephant's trunk and instantly sat on top of the giant elephant. The purplish-red jade tag also fell into his hand. Yi Hao immediately kept the jade tag. Rank 2 Magical Beast, White Elephant. Seeing the white elephant that Yi Hao was sitting on, someone immediately revealed the white elephant's name. I thought it was some high-level magical beast. So it's just a rank 2 magical beast. Guoringrue looked at the giant creature in front of him. Although he was a bit embarrassed, he still mocked it. Yi Hao sat on top of the giant elephant and looked down at Guoringrue with the eyes of a superior and said, "General Guo, you don't need to know what magical beast this is. Eat it." Wait a minute. This is not an ordinary white elephant. Bai Qingshang knew that since it was a mutated magical beast, there would definitely be changes. After careful observation, Bai Qingshang quickly walked to the white elephant's side and looked at the white elephant's leg. There was a small piece of densely packed scale. This is? Bai Qingshang looked at the densely packed scale and instantly revealed a thoughtful expression. Bai Qingshang's fuss instantly aroused everyone's interest. They looked at the 4 thick giant legs of the white elephant. Isn't it just some scales? What's there to fuss about? Elderly glanced at it and asked in dissatisfaction. Bai Qingshang looked at these tiny scales. His hesitation hadn't fully formed yet. It was extremely difficult for him to differentiate them. However, his heart told him that this was a mutated magical beast. It was absolutely rare. Bai Qingshang stood up and coughed twice. A smile appeared on his face again. "Little brother, I'll guarantee your entry into the 1,000 Beast sect. How about you give me this white elephant? I'll find you a peak rank 4 magical beast. If not, I'll find you a rank 5 magical beast." Bai Qingshang looked at Yi Hao with a fawning tone and said nervously, "What? He actually wants to exchange a rank 5 magical beast for a white elephant? What's wrong with Elder Bai?" Elder Bai actually showed a fawning smile to him and directly guaranteed his entry into the 1,000 Beast sect. What's so special about this white elephant? Isn't it just a few more strange scales than a normal white elephant? Seeing Bai Qingshang's fawning expression, hundreds of thousands of people were taken aback. Was this still the high and mighty elder of the 1,000 Beast sect? How could he show a fawning smile to a young man? And the most important thing was that he wanted to exchange a rank 5 magical beast for a rank 2 white elephant. Was there something wrong with his brain? Moreover, his face was full of expectation, as if he was afraid that Yi Hao wouldn't agree. Everyone once again began to scrutinize Yi Hao. What kind of person was this? At first, he killed the overlord of the Beast King city, Guoringrue. Then, he challenged elderly of the 1,000 Beast sect. Now, even Bai Qingshang, the leader, was showing a fawning smile to Yi Hao. "Little brother, hurry up and agree. That's a rank 5 magical beast. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You can directly get a rank 5 martial spirit magical beast and also join the 1,000 Beast sect. What are you hesitating for?" Many people had already opened their mouths to shout for Yi Hao. However, more people looked at Yi Hao with eyes full of jealousy. City Lord Song and Xiechunyu also looked at Yi Hao nervously. They were worried and expectant. Chapter 192. Looking at Bai Qingshang's performance, Elder Li was even more dissatisfied. He whispered, "Humph, a dignified elder of Wanshou sect is actually humbling himself in front of a trash. I really don't know how our sect lord made us listen to him." Elder Wan pinched his chin and revealed a thoughtful expression. His eyes kept glancing at the white elephant and Bai Qingshang. Because he had heard that mutated magical beasts were stronger than normal magical beasts. For Bai Qingshang to make such a big bet, it meant that this white elephant was definitely extraordinary. Elder Wan's eyes flashed with a trace of darkness. Bai Qingshang had always been suppressing him. This kind of good thing must not be monopolized by Bai Qingshang. No matter what was different about this white elephant, he must get it first. After making up his mind, Elder Wan's expression immediately changed. He looked at Yi Hao with a smile. "You are called Xia Hao, right? I still don't have a closed-door disciple. I wonder if you are interested." "What? become an elder's closed-door disciple. Are you kidding me? What is so special about this Xia Hao's magical beast? To be able to attract two elders to compete for it. The spectators all knew that the two elders' attitude towards Yi Hao had changed because of this white elephant. All of them had expressions of shock on their faces, not daring to believe what was happening before their eyes. They originally wanted to see Guo Yingrui humiliate Yi Hao and watch Yi Hao get killed by elderly. Who knew that it would turn out like this? The two elders were trying to curry favor with Yi Hao. Bai Qingshang looked deeply at Elder Wan and laughed. It seems that I also don't have a closed-door disciple. What do you mean? Two elders of Wanshou sect are competing for a closed-door disciple. The onlookers couldn't believe their ears. They hoped that the one riding on the white elephant was them, and not Yi Hao. Elders, I still have a bet to complete. Yi Hao also knew that everything Bai Qingshang had done was for the sake of the white dragon giant elephant he was sitting on. However, he didn't expect that a mutated magical beast, and a rank 2 one at that, could attract two elders to fight over it. Of course, there was no lack of conflict between them. The moment the giant elephant hatched, the system notified him that the quest had been completed. At the same time, Yi Hao's level rose to second-order Martial King. However, the mission given to him by the system was to continue participating in the beast appraisal competition and win first place. Hence, Yi Hao could only reject their suggestion. Moreover, Yi Hao knew that the white dragon elephant was a mutated magical beast with a trace of dragon blood in its body. Naturally, it was stronger than the average magical beast, but it still couldn't compare to a 5th-rank magical beast. However, Yi Hao didn't plan on exchanging them because this was his first mutated magical beast. He didn't know if the white dragon elephant had any other strong points, and he didn't know if this would happen again in the future. If it weren't for the fact that there were so many people here, he would have taken the magical beast egg and tested it again. Hearing Yi Hao mention the bet, everyone's gaze fell on Guo Yingrui. They looked at him with pitiful eyes. This was a magical beast that two elders were fighting over. Let's see if you dare to eat it. The giant elephant weighed dozens of tons. Guo Yingrui said that he would eat it alive, but they didn't know if he had such a big appetite. General Guo, please. Yi Hao jumped off the giant elephant and politely extended his right hand. Guo Yingrui swallowed his saliva. He didn't expect Yi Hao to be so lucky to have such a strange giant elephant appraised by two elders. Guo Yingrui looked at Elderly cautiously. At this moment, he could only pray that Elderly would stand up for him. After all, Elderly said that he would eat this white elephant together. Why are you looking at me? Elderly said impatiently when he saw Guo Yingrui's gaze. If it weren't for Bai Qingshang and Elder Wan, who both wanted Yi Hao's white elephant, he wouldn't have to be like this. He really couldn't see what was so special about this white elephant. Didn't it just grow some scales? Could it be dragon scales? Was there a need for two people to fight over it? All right, I won't make things difficult for General Guo. As long as you kowtow to me 3 times, I will let you go. Yi Hao automatically ignored Elderly. Now was not the time to settle accounts with him. Since he wanted to enter the Wanshou sect, he couldn't offend him too much. Yi Hao didn't think that Bai Qingshang and Elder Wan would fight with Elderly for him. They just wanted to get his giant elephant. Why wouldn't he use them to enter the Wanshou sect? He could let Elderly go for now, but didn't Guo Yingrui want him to lose face in front of everyone? Since that was the case, he was going to humiliate him in front of everyone. You are delusional. You want this general to kneel to you? Stop dreaming. Hearing Yi Hao's casual tone, asking him to kowtow to him 3 times as if he was magnanimous, Guo Yingrui angrily shouted. Xia Hao, don't go too far. Guo Hai said. Yi Hao was so arrogant that he wanted his son to kneel. If that was the case, then he wouldn't be able to show his face in Beast King City anymore. He immediately stood out and shouted. This is really a case of the little bastard hiding his head, and the big bastard showing his head. Yi Hao looked at Guahai, who stood out. He was only an 8th order martial king, while he himself was already a 2nd order martial king. He might be in danger if he faced Mayor Song, but killing Guahai was a piece of cake for him. What an arrogant brat! Let this old man take your dog head. All right, it just so happens that this young master's hands are also itching. Guahai flew into a rage. Yi Hao wasn't afraid at all. Now that he had broken through to 2nd order martial king, he really wanted to move his body. Sigh, Guahai, this is a conflict between the younger generation. Don't get involved. Seeing that Guahai was about to attack, Mayor Song hurriedly stood out to stop him. Surname Song, don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you're 2 realms higher than me. My Gua clan's cultivation technique isn't to be trifled with. Guahai was able to fight evenly with City Lord Song. He had been relying on his own cultivation technique, which was of a higher level than City Lord Song's. Now that Yi Hao had crossed his bottom line, Guahai didn't want to tolerate it anymore. He directly fell out with Mayor Song. Mayor Song, you don't have to stop me. It's just an old bastard. Just kill him. Gua Style's 3rd layer force. Seeing Yi Hao's arrogant appearance, Guahai couldn't stand it anymore and directly used a martial skill. Gua clan's patriarch actually used Gua clan's strongest martial skill. Hearing Gua clan's 3rd layer force, everyone was shocked. Gua clan's 3rd layer force only had 3 moves. The first move could only display one's strength, but the second move could double one's strength, and the third move could double one's strength. Even Mayor Song didn't dare to fight Guahai head-on. He had to avoid Guahai. Chapter 193. Strong your grandmother's leg. In the blink of an eye, Guahai's heavy palm was about to land on Yi Hao's chest. Guahai's face had already revealed a cruel sneer. In his eyes, Yi Hao was just a pitiful ant under this palm. He would definitely be crushed into pieces. Xie Chunyu was sweating profusely for Yi Hao. She never thought that Guahai would disregard everything and suddenly attack Yi Hao. He even used the Gua family's strongest martial skill. No one thought that Yi Hao would still be able to laugh at this time. Brat, no matter how arrogant you are, you will still die under this old man's hands. HM? Where is he? Just as Guahai's palm was a few millimeters away from landing on Yi Hao's body, Guahai only saw a figure in front of him swaying. His full-strength palm actually missed. Old bastard, go to hell! Suddenly, Yi Hao's figure came from behind him. Guahai's heart tightened. Just as he was about to dodge, he felt his body go weak. 2 blood-stained blades had actually pierced through his chest, and the blood dripping from the blades was his blood. Guahai's face was filled with unwillingness. He slowly turned his head and muttered, "How is this possible? Nothing is impossible." Yi Hao coldly snorted and kept the blades in his space. Guahai's entire body fell to the ground. Ding dong, congratulations on killing an 8th level martial king. Obtained 80,000 experience points. Obtained 40,000 experience points. Obtained 5th level White Fox token. Obtained profound level 3rd level Gua family's strength. The crowd instantly went into an uproar, as if everything in front of them was a dream. The famous Guahai of Beast King City, an expert who stood shoulder to shoulder with City Lord Song, was actually killed by a brat in one move. Father! Guoring Rue was inconsolable and pounced on Guahai. How is this possible? A 1st level martial king can actually kill a high-level martial king expert in one move. I didn't even see how he moved just now. He actually appeared behind Patriarch Gua. What a joke. At that time, I thought that Lan Bao had bumped into Xia Hao's blade. Turns out that his speed was too fast, and we couldn't see it clearly. Hearing this person's figure, everyone immediately thought of the scene of Lan Bao running into a saber. Now that they thought about it, how laughable it was. Even Guahai, an 8th order martial king, was killed by Yi Hao in one move. Lan Bao, a 3rd order martial king, was nothing in Yi Hao's eyes. Everyone looked deeply at Guo Yingrui. That day, City Lord Song wasn't saving Yi Hao. He was clearly saving you. He was magnanimous enough to let you go. Did you really think that he was inferior to you? City Lord Song's eyes were also filled with shock. When did this brat break through again? Yesterday, he was still a first-order martial king. Now, his strength is actually a second-order martial king. When Yi Hao made his move just now, City Lord Song naturally saw the aura that erupted from his body. City Lord Song only now realized how laughable it was to use Guohai to scare Yi Hao. Even if it was him, he wouldn't be able to kill Guohai so easily. However, Yi Hao actually did it so easily. Sigh, it seems that I'm really old. City Lord Song sighed softly. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. Guohai's eyes were filled with intense anger. He raised his head and roared at the top of his lungs. There's still a little bastard left. Then you can go and die too. Since Guo Yingrui didn't want to live anymore, Yi Hao naturally wouldn't be polite. He took out a weapon from his space and walked towards Guo Yingrui with a smile. What are you doing? Elder Wan, save me. Guo Yingrui finally reacted. Even his own father wasn't a match for Yi Hao and was killed by Yi Hao in one move. Then, it was even more impossible for him to be a match for Yi Hao. Guo Yingrui was on the ground. His heart was filled with fear as he continuously retreated. He begged Elder Wan for mercy. Elder Wan, save me. My Guo family's wealth will all be yours. When Elder Wan heard Guo Yingrui's words, it was obvious that he was moved. However, he could only blame Guo Yingrui for saying it in front of so many people. It made him lose face. He coldly snorted, Do you think this elder is a greedy person? You actually want to use money to confuse this elder. Guo Yingrui was also a smart person. He obviously knew that he had said the wrong thing. He quickly slapped his own mouth and said, Yes, yes, yes. It's all my fault for saying the wrong thing. I'll have to trouble Elder Wan to save me. There were only 3 elders here who could subdue Yi Hao. Among them, only Elder Wan had received benefits from his family. Now, he could only place all his hopes of survival on Yi Hao. No one can save you today. I believe that Elder Wan is a clean man. He won't help trash like you. Yi Hao didn't want to reveal too many trump cards. If Elder Wan helped him, it would be quite troublesome. Therefore, Yi Hao immediately put a high hat on Elder Wan. Elder Wan suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. At this time, there were so many people around, so he couldn't openly refute Yi Hao's words. However, he was also very envious of the Guo family's asset. After all, the higher his cultivation level, the more resources he would need to cultivate if he wanted to go further. Elder Wan coughed lightly and said, Xia Hao, no matter what, this is my Wan Shou Sex competition. You have already killed Guohai. Can you give me some face and let him go for the time being? Just when everyone thought that Yi Hao would agree immediately. After all, this was a Wan Shou Sex elder asking for mercy. Ordinary people wouldn't have such face. If he didn't agree immediately, wouldn't he be looking for trouble? Is your face very valuable? Yi Hao asked with a smile. Did he need to ask for the opinion of others when he wanted to kill the person he wanted to kill? He actually refused again. When everyone heard Yi Hao's words to Elder Wan, they suddenly felt their hearts beating wildly. A young boy actually asked a Wan Shou Sex elder. Was his face very valuable? How arrogant was he? Or was he really fearless and had the right to be arrogant? Good, very good. Today you kill one for me. Elder Wan was so angry that he laughed. He had never spoken so humbly to anyone before. Moreover, he was speaking to a martial king trash. This person actually dared to not give him face in public. Before Elder Wan could finish his words, Yi Hao's figure suddenly moved. Elder Wan, save, before Guo Yingrui could finish his cry for help. His head had already fallen to the ground. His eyes were wide open, and he had an unwilling look on his face. The Guo family is finished. From now on, the Song family will be the only family in Beast King City. No one expected that Yi Hao would not give Elder Wan any face when he had already said that. He even killed Guo Yingrui without hesitation. Chapter 194. Elder Wan narrowed his eyes filled with murderous intent. He didn't expect that Yi Hao would kill Guo Yingrui before he could finish speaking. Yi Hao really didn't put him in his eyes. Elder Wan felt that his dignity had been trampled deeply at this moment. Everyone looked at him with ridicule. Elder Wan clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "Boy, are you really not afraid of death?" "Elder Wan, what are you saying? Who isn't afraid of death?" Yi Hao chuckled, "But an elder can't kill a contestant. I'm not wrong about that." Yi Hao was gambling. Elder Wan didn't dare to make a move. Even if he did, Yi Hao wouldn't be afraid. At most, it would be more troublesome to investigate. But don't forget, whether you can enter the Wan Shou sect or not, your life won't be easy. Elder Wan said coldly. This was why he didn't kill Yi Hao immediately. Not killing a contestant was a rule set by the sect leader. If he acted rashly, it would be used against him. But if Yi Hao couldn't enter the top 10, he would have a reason to kill Yi Hao. In his opinion, although he didn't understand Yi Hao's white elephant, it was a fact that it was at the peak of rank 2. Up until now, there were more than 20 rank 3 magical beasts. Among them, there were 3 rank 4 magical beasts. So, he didn't think Yi Hao could enter the top 10. Even if Yi Hao entered the top 10, the Wan Shou sect was his territory. Would Yi Hao have a good life? Thank you for your concern, Elder Wan. You don't have to worry about whether I have a good life or not. Yi Hao was relieved. He knew he had made the right bet. As long as Elder Wan didn't make a move, it would be fine. Elder Wan was afraid he wouldn't be able to control himself. He flung his sleeves and left. City Lord Song, the Guo family has already been annihilated. You should quickly send people to collect the Guo family's resources. Don't let others take advantage of your precarious situation, Yi Hao said meaningfully as he looked at Elder Wan's back. Elder Wan stopped in his tracks. Even if he had such thoughts, he wouldn't do it anymore. He couldn't afford to lose face like that. At this moment, he was gnashing his teeth at Yi Hao. Elder Bai, I can't give you this white elephant for now. I want to win first place in the beast appraisal competition and enter the 1,000 Beast sect on my own. I think the next competition should be related to this magical beast. I want to wait until the competition is over before we talk about the white elephant. Yi Hao suddenly changed his attitude and spoke to Bai Qingshang in a friendly manner. He knew that he couldn't afford to offend all the elders of the 10,000 Beasts sect in one fell swoop. Currently, he was already in conflict with 2 of them. As for this Bai Qingshang, Yi Hao didn't mind giving him some face since he still had a decent impression of him. Xia Hao, you don't have to go through so much trouble. As long as you want to join the 1,000 Beasts sect, all I have to do is say the word. If Bai Qingshang was only willing to accept Yi Hao as his disciple because he wanted to compete with Elder Wan for the magical beast, Bai Qingshang wouldn't have been willing to accept Yi Hao as his disciple. Now that he saw Yi Hao easily behead Guohai, he truly felt a sense of appreciation for talent. In his eyes, if Yi Hao could instantly kill an 8th-level Martial King as a 2nd-level Martial King, then his future achievements would definitely not be below his own. If he could accept Yi Hao as his disciple, then he would be proud of himself in the future. The only thing he didn't like about Yi Hao was that he was too arrogant. If such a person didn't experience some setbacks, then he would definitely suffer in the future. However, he was also curious. Why would Yi Hao, a mere martial king, dare to challenge Elder Wan? Was he really not afraid of angering Elder Wan and causing Elder Wan to act recklessly? Don't, Elder Bai. I want to rely on my own abilities, Yi Hao rejected with a smile. What a joke. Winning the beast appraisal competition would earn him 500,000 experience points, Enough for him to level up twice. Wasn't he participating in this competition to level up? How could he agree to that? Why don't you consider it? Although your strength is not bad, the competition later on is related to magical beasts. There are many magical beasts that are stronger than yours, Bai Qingshang advised again. All right then, I won't persuade you anymore, Bai Qingshang said with a smile when he saw that Yi Hao was about to reject him. He knew that the more talented a young man like Yi Hao was, the more arrogant he would be. Since he had already made up his mind, no matter how much he tried to persuade him, it would be useless. All right, let's continue the appraisal, Bai Qingshang said to the remaining contestants before Yi Hao could say anything. Damn, brother, you're too amazing. I think I'll just follow you. It's meaningless for me to go back to that house. Seeing Bai Qingshang and elderly leave, Yi Qing immediately squeezed to Yi Hao's side and spoke incoherently in excitement. Follow me? You'd better go appraise your eggs. Yi Hao shook his head with a chuckle when he saw Yi Qing looking at him with admiration. It doesn't matter if I appraise them or not, Yi Qing said indifferently towards the two magical beast eggs in her hands that even she didn't have the energy to complain about. Hey, you in front, hurry up. Just as Yi Qing was about to say something, the people in the queue behind her urged her impatiently. What's with the rush? Yi Qing said in dissatisfaction when she was interrupted. Can't you see that I'm chatting with Master Xia Hao? Xia Hao is my boss. If you're unhappy, you can go look for him. When the people in the queue saw how arrogant Yi Qing was, they glanced at Yi Hao who was standing next to her. No matter how dissatisfied they were, they didn't dare to show it and just smiled fawningly at Yi Hao. This was someone who even the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect didn't care about. Who would dare to provoke him? However, just because they were afraid of Yi Hao didn't mean they were afraid of Yi Qing. Looking at the two hideous magical beast eggs in Yi Qing's arms, they smiled in disdain. Yi Qing looked embarrassed. She had no choice but to do this because she didn't want to join the Thousand Beasts sect and avoid her violent older sister. Yi Qing looked at Yi Hao fawningly. Boss, wait for me. I'll treat you to a drink later. Without waiting for Yi Hao to speak, Yi Qing tossed the two magical beast eggs onto the beast appraisal table. Even the guards were shocked, but when they saw the appearance of the magical beast eggs, they couldn't help but reveal puzzled expressions. Yi Hao was also very interested in Yi Qing's beast appraising skills, but he didn't expect Yi Qing to be so friendly and suddenly treat him as her boss. Yi Hao could only shake his head with a bitter smile since he hadn't agreed to it. Meanwhile, the middle-aged man had already recovered. After witnessing the Guo father and son being killed with his own eyes, he no longer dared to offend Yi Hao. He stood in a corner and secretly looked at the eggs in Yi Qing's hands. This was because he recognized that these were the eggs that Yi Hao had told him were not bad. At first, he was curious why someone would pick up these eggs, but when he heard Yi Qing call Yi Hao boss, he suspected that Yi Hao was the one who gave them to him. He was curious if Yi Hao was really so amazing that even Master Shui couldn't compare to him. After all, Master Shui said that the eggs in Yi Qing's hands were dead eggs. But when he saw the appearance of the magical beast eggs, he shook his head again. He still chose to believe in Master Shui, even if his eggs were fake. Chapter 195. Yi Qing first appraised the magical beast egg she had picked. After all, if both eggs were alive, there was no point in appraising the next one. Yi Qing nervously picked up the purplish-red jade token, praying in her heart that she wouldn't pass. Kid, I think you're here to make a fool of yourself. You must be a genius to be able to pick these two eggs. I think you should just go home. The person who tried to persuade Yi Qing to hurry up couldn't help but take the lead to jeer when he saw how nervous Yi Qing was. Really? Yi Qing was delighted. No, you have to appraise the magical beast eggs you picked. Although the soldier agreed that there was no need to appraise Yi Qing's magical beast eggs in order to abide by the rules of the competition, he rejected her heartlessly. Remember, Appraising a magical beast doesn't necessarily depend on its appearance. Just as someone was about to mock Yi Qing, Yi Hao suddenly spoke up softly. When the crowd heard Yi Hao's words, they couldn't help but snicker in disdain. Do you really think you're a beast appraiser master just because you got a mutated magical beast? That's just your dumb luck. What's with the pretense? He just got a mutated magical beast out of pure luck. But it's only a rank 2 magical beast. That's right. The better the appearance, the higher the chances of the eggs being alive. This is a principle that will never change. What's a young kid like you trying to pretend to be an expert? Many people were afraid of Yi Hao's strength and didn't dare to speak up. They only dared to hide in the crowd and whisper. Obviously, Yi Hao had stirred up everyone's jealousy. Some people couldn't stand Yi Hao and started mocking him. Boss, you can't be thinking that these 2 eggs of mine can be appraised as magical beasts, right? Yi Qing asked in shock, almost dropping the jade token in her hand. Ha ha ha, so you're an idiot. You don't even look at the appearance of your magical beast eggs before you think you can appraise them as magical beasts. The crowd couldn't hold it in any more and started laughing maniacally. Yi Hao looked at Yi Qing in confusion. Is this kid pretending to be stupid? The 2 magical beast eggs I picked are both alive. Why doesn't he believe me? From the looks of it, he didn't seem to want to identify the magical beast. Yi Hao frowned and thought for a moment. He recalled the conversation he had with Yi Qing and immediately realized that he had misunderstood. It seemed that Yi Qing had been forced by her family to participate in the competition. But this kid's luck was too good. He randomly picked 2 such poor eggs, and they were both alive. Yi Hao suddenly had a mischievous feeling in his heart. He wanted to see Yi Qing's expression when she found out that the 2 magical beast eggs were both alive. He chuckled and shook his head, not saying anything. Humph, if you don't want to say it, then don't say it. I don't believe that I will be so unlucky. Yi Qing looked at Yi Hao and smiled without saying anything. She curled her lips and looked at the magical beast egg in front of her. She couldn't believe that this was a living egg. She was unconvinced and dripped a drop of blood onto the medium jade tablet. Bai Qingshang, City Lord Song, and the others had obviously noticed the situation here. However, they were too far away from the eggs, and could only vaguely see that the eggs were of poor quality. City Lord Song, do you think this magical beast egg is alive or dead? Bai Qingshang turned his head and asked City Lord Song softly. However, when he saw Xie Chunyu, his gaze paused for a few seconds. Xie Chunyu quickly picked up the teapot and lowered her head to refill City Lord Song's teacup. This little servant is so handsome. Bai Qingshang retracted his gaze and said with a chuckle. Think about it. City Lord Song ordered, afraid that Bai Qingshang would discover Xie Chunyu's identity. Xie Chunyu quickly bowed and walked away. Although I couldn't see it clearly, I think that the egg is most likely dead. Stroking his beard, City Lord Song looked at the magical beast egg on the table and voiced his guess. Bai Qingshang glanced at Xie Chunyu's back and nodded with his teacup in hand. Yi Qing's blood dripped onto the medium jade token. In an instant, the token emitted a light that enveloped the egg. The phantom of a magical beast rapidly formed on the egg, and its iron hook-like tail waved in the air. No way, it's a rank 1 magical beast, the mustache scorpion. It's actually a living magical beast egg. Don't worry, what if the phantom disappears like just now? Wouldn't it still be a dead egg? Just as everyone was discussing, a 1-meter-long mustache scorpion climbed down from the table and crawled to Yi Qing's side. It used its tail to touch Yi Qing's trousers affectionately. No way. Do I have to be so unlucky? Yi Qing kicked the mustache scorpion away with a face that was worse than death. Yi Qing turned to Yi Hao and saw Yi Hao looking at her with a smile. Yi Qing looked at Yi Hao suspiciously. Boss, did you know? Why didn't you tell me? I'm so screwed this time, that's enough. When other people appraise a magical beast, they're happy. Why are you acting so desperate? Yi Hao asked with a smile as he kicked Yi Qing's butt. How is that possible? How can a magical beast egg of such poor quality be appraised as a magical beast? Could this Xia Hao really be a master beast appraiser? Everyone stared at Yi Hao in shock, recalling Yi Hao's words. Beast appraising didn't necessarily depend on its appearance. Could it be that there was something wrong with the beast appraising techniques that had been passed down in the Infinite Land continent? Almost everyone present was a beast appraiser. They suddenly realized that everything they had learned in their lives had been overturned. Impossible, it must be luck. That's right. It's not unheard of for a magical beast egg of poor quality to be appraised as a living one. It must be luck. I refuse to believe that another magical beast egg can be a living one. There were still many stubborn old men and proud people who refused to believe Yi Hao's word. They thought that this was just a coincidence and luck. Everyone, listen to me. I don't know if that magical beast egg was chosen by Xia Hao, but Xia Hao said that this magical beast egg was a living one while Master Xueji said that it was a dead one. Let's see if Xia Hao is really that amazing. Just as everyone was discussing and doubting each other, the middle-aged man suddenly spoke up. What? Xia Hao was the one who chose this egg? Did Master Xue praise this magical beast egg as well? Everyone in Beast King City knows of Master Xue's beast appraising skills. If Master Xue said that it was a dead egg, then it must be a dead egg. Whether it's a dead egg or not, we'll know once we let that kid appraise it. The middle-aged man's words successfully attracted everyone's attention. Some supported Xueji, while some youngsters were impressed by Yi Hao and chose to believe in Yi Hao. However, there were also some who found it difficult to choose. Still, most of them chose to believe in Xueji. After all, Xueji's reputation in Beast King City was not insignificant. On the other hand, Yi Hao was just starting to make a name for himself. More people believed that it was difficult for a magical beast egg of poor quality to produce a living magical beast. After all, the chances of a magical beast egg of good quality growing into a magical beast were slim. On the other hand, if a magical beast egg of poor quality grew into a living one, it would be even more difficult. Chapter 196. Yi Hao had already used a magical beast egg that didn't look too good and got a mutated magical beast. I Ching once again used an even worse grade magical beast egg, and opened a rank 1 magical beast. More people tried to pick a magical beast egg that looked better, but all of them failed. Kid, hurry up and open it. I Ching was undoubtedly the center of attention at this moment. Many people began to urge her to appraise the magical beast, so that everyone would know if the egg Yi Hao picked was alive or dead. I Ching ignored the crowd. Instead, when she heard the middle-aged man's words, she was stunned and looked at Yi Hao in disbelief. Boss, it can't be. Why are we so fated? You picked this magical beast egg? Seeing I Ching's shocked expression, Yi Hao nodded his head. Although this magical beast egg wasn't personally selected by him, this magical beast egg was indeed somewhat related to him. If he didn't say that this magical beast egg was good, the middle-aged man wouldn't have asked Xueji to appraise it, and it wouldn't have been thrown to the roadside and seen by I Ching. Overall, he was the one who appraised this magical beast egg, so there was nothing wrong with that. This Xia Hao is quite capable. Bai Qingshang exclaimed in admiration. He was a little surprised that a magical beast could be hatched from such a low-quality magical beast egg. That's right. City Lord Song nodded deeply. He looked at Yi Hao with shock in his eyes. Yi Hao had said that appraising magical beasts didn't necessarily depend on their appearance. This meant that Yi Hao had a unique understanding of beast appraising, and this mustard scorpion was the biggest proof. This Xia Hao is really good at hiding things. I wonder if Miss was right to ask him for help. City Lord Song sighed deeply in his heart. However, he couldn't tell if Yi Hao was truly capable or if he just relied on luck. If it was as Yi Hao said, that appraising magical beasts didn't solely depend on their appearance, then why didn't anyone in the Infinite Land continent discover this earlier? That wouldn't cause the price difference between a magical beast egg with a good appearance and a magical beast egg with a poor appearance to be dozens of times higher. When City Lord Song saw Bai Qingshang getting up and walking towards the beast appraisal platform out of curiosity, he quickly followed suit. He too wanted to know if the magical beast egg Yi Hao chose would produce a magical beast. If he could pass, it would mean that Yi Hao was truly a master beast appraiser. If he couldn't, it would only mean that Yi Hao's achievements were all due to luck. Yi Hao's statement that beast appraisers didn't necessarily rely on their appearance was nothing more than nonsense. "Boss, are you confident or not?" I Ching was now like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. He had already opened a magical beast egg. Instead, he was looking forward to this magical beast egg, which was also a living magical beast egg. After all, there were countless people at the scene who wanted to see Yi Hao make a fool of himself. Yi Hao would undoubtedly be ridiculed by countless people if his magical beast egg didn't produce a magical beast. That was something he didn't want to see. Rather than that, he might as well not open this magical beast. In any case, he had already opened a magical beast egg, so he had the right to take the remaining one away. "Don't worry. Go ahead." Yi Hao smiled with relief. He was touched. "All right then." I Ching gritted his teeth. He took a jade token from the soldier and dripped a drop of blood onto it. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of people were watching the beast appraisal stage. Even Xueji, who had left long ago, was now mixed in with the crowd. He was filled with regret. He didn't expect the Guo family's father and son to be killed so easily. He only had two options now. He could either escape Beast King City or join the Thousand Beast sect. He was absolutely unwilling to leave the Beast King City. Only by joining the Myriad Beasts sect would he be able to achieve his goal. The Class 4 magical beasts and a Class 3 magical beast that had been appraised gave him sufficient confidence. He hated the middle-aged man even more. He had already given Yi Hao 2 dead magical beast eggs. Although he had no idea how Yi Hao managed to open a living magical beast egg, the middle-aged man's words had undoubtedly set him against Yi Hao. Moreover, this was related to his reputation. He didn't take a closer look at that magical beast egg. If it turned out to be a living one, wouldn't his reputation be ruined? Xueji kept praying in his heart, hoping that he didn't make a mistake in his appraisal and that it was a dead egg. Under everyone's expectant gaze, the phantom of a white feather tiger appeared above the magical beast egg. Many people cast mocking glances at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's expression was also extremely awkward. "It can't be such a coincidence, right?" Another peak rank 3 white feather tiger. "Impossible, my egg was in better condition but it was also a dead egg. This one can't possibly be a living one." The middle-aged man shook his head and shouted excitedly. Roar, the phantom dissipated, revealing a black tiger that was 4 to 5 meters long. Long white fur grew on both sides of its body like a pair of wings. The white feather tiger raised its head and roared at the sky. It jumped down from the beast appraisal stage and ran to I Ching's side. "Boss, you're too awesome. It's actually a peak rank 3 white feather tiger. With some nurturing, it can easily break through to become a rank 4 magical beast." When I Ching saw the white feather tiger beside her, she heaved a sigh of relief and said to Yi Hao with admiration, "What do you think? You can't recognize the real deal. My boss gave you a peak rank 3 magical beast for free and you rejected it. Instead, you took a broken egg. What a joke." I Ching turned around and walked up to the middle-aged man casually, mocking him mercilessly. At this moment, the middle-aged man looked as if he had just eaten a pile of shit. His face was ashen as he stared at I Ching's white feather tiger. If he had believed Yi Hao in the beginning, he would have been the owner of this white feather tiger. He could only blame himself for throwing this magical beast egg aside in a moment of carelessness. Now, the white feather tiger had become someone else's magical beast. Xueji, I hate you. Damn your ancestors. The middle-aged man clenched his fists and cursed at the crowd below. He didn't care if Xueji was among them or not. If he hadn't believed in Xueji, he would have at least obtained a rank 3 magical beast. Regardless of whether he could enter the Thousand Beast sect in the end, his status would be incomparable. If he was lucky, he might even be able to enter the Thousand Beast sect. But now, he had become the biggest joke and was even eliminated. The middle-aged man was filled with regret and could only blame it all on Xueji. He really appraised a magical beast, and a rank 3 one at that. This Xia Hao really is a master beast appraiser. Doesn't that mean Xia Hao is even better than Master Xue? In the eyes of the crowd, the middle-aged man was just a pitiful clown. Most of them were looking at Yi Hao with admiration. If the crowd had doubted Yi Hao at first, they now understood that he was just keeping a low profile. He was truly capable. Chapter 197. Although most of them were starting to believe Yi Hao and started thinking about Yi Hao's words, that appraising beasts didn't have to be based on appearance. However, this made things even more difficult for the crowd. The chances of failure were very high based on appearance alone. If they didn't pick a magical beast egg with good appearance, it would undoubtedly increase the difficulty. However, Yi Hao's words caused a huge uproar in the future. This was because magic beast eggs of inferior quality were cheap. In the past, magic beast eggs of inferior quality didn't have a market at all. But later on, they became hot sellers. Even though the price of magical beast eggs with poor quality had increased by several folds, there were still people willing to buy them. After all, the better the appearance, the more expensive the egg was. Moreover, appraising a magical beast egg with poor quality was indeed much harder than appraising a magical beast egg with good appearance. Seeing that Yi Qing was done with her appraisal, Yi Hao turned to leave with a smile on his face. Yi Qing quickly chased after him, and the crowd immediately opened a path for Yi Hao. Below, Xueji saw how dazzling Yi Hao was and jealousy rose in his heart. Moreover, he had already heard many people talking about how he was inferior to Yi Hao, and this made him even angrier. Xia Hao, although your level is higher than mine, the next round isn't just a competition of individual levels. It's also a competition of magical beasts cultivation. You only have a second-rank magical beast, while I have a third-rank magical beast and a fourth-rank magical beast. What do you have to compete with me? Xueji gnashed his teeth, hatefully thinking about this. After the competition ended, Xueji was informed of the next round's content. The next round was a competition of magical beast strength, and they had to be appraised by the beast appraisal competition. If it was a competition of individual strength, Xueji was extremely fearful of Yi Hao. However, if it was a competition of magical beasts, he didn't think much of Yi Hao's magical beast. Xia Hao, I must kill your magical beast to make up for the humiliation you've given me. Xueji glanced at Yi Hao's silhouette and immediately turned to leave. Within 3 days, he had to reveal his magical beast form. Only then could he go all out against Yi Hao. He wanted to use his strength to completely crush Yi Hao. He wanted everyone to know that even if they could identify a magical beast from a low-grade magical beast egg, it still couldn't compare to his own magical beast. Everything was fake. Only by appraising the strength of the magical beast could he prove that he was more powerful. No matter how amazing and admirable Yi Hao's beast appraising skills were, he still managed to appraise a rank 3 demonic beast. Xueji could do the same. Although Yi Hao had appraised a mutated demonic beast, Xueji didn't think Yi Hao's rank 2 demonic beast could compare to his rank 4 demonic beast. Boss, wait for me, don't go so fast. Yi Qing put away her magical beast and hurriedly chased after Yi Hao, shouting anxiously. Boss, let's go to the restaurant. I'll treat you to a drink. Yi Qing walked to Yi Hao's side and said flatteringly. All right, where are we going? Lead the way. Yi Hao saw that it was still early and he didn't want to return to the Song Manor so soon, so he quickly agreed. Hearing Yi Hao's agreement, I Ching immediately said happily, "All right, boss, I'll treat you to the best restaurant in Beast King City. Waiter, give me a serving of all the best food and drinks in your restaurant." I Ching looked at the waiter. Perhaps it was because of her and Yi Hao's young age that the waiter ignored them. I Ching took out a stack of banknotes and threw it at the waiter's face. The waiter was about to get angry, but when he saw the number on the banknotes, he quickly apologized. "This kid isn't simple. He actually has a space ring." As Yi Hao didn't restrict the Dragon Prison Lake's weapon spirit's movements, the weapon spirit could see what was happening outside. The moment I Ching took out the banknotes, the weapon spirit spoke in Yi Hao's mind. "Boss, please have a seat." Walking into the private room, I Ching quickly pulled out a chair for Yi Hao and wiped Yi Hao's clothes. "Boss, with your strength, why are you participating in this kind of competition?" I Ching sat down and asked curiously. In his opinion, Yi Hao didn't even give face to the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect, and even offended 2 of them. He was so good at beast appraising, and his cultivation level wasn't low either. Most importantly, he was able to kill an 8th-level Martial King as a 2nd-level Martial King. Hence, he guessed that Yi Hao must have a powerful background to be so arrogant. Although I Ching was a hedonistic young master, he wasn't stupid. He didn't mind befriending people with power and background like Yi Hao. Yi Hao chuckled. "Then why are you participating in the Thousand Beasts sect?" "So boss, you're just like me. You were forced by your family." Seeing that Yi Hao didn't say anything, I Ching guessed that Yi Hao was a disciple of some powerful force who came out to train. No matter how powerful the force behind Yi Hao was, I Ching guessed that it was no smaller than his own family. This was because even he didn't dare to treat the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect that way. Although his life wouldn't be in danger if he did that, it wouldn't be pleasant either. At the very least, he would be skinned alive. On the other hand, Yi Hao didn't care about the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect at all. If he didn't have a powerful background, he would only do so if there was something wrong with his brain. At this moment, I Ching was imagining all kinds of things in his mind. He even imagined that Yi Hao's family was one of the top forces on the Longevity continent. "Tell me, why are you so unwilling to join the Thousand Beasts sect? There's nothing wrong with joining the Thousand Beasts sect, right? With your family's power, there shouldn't be anyone in the Thousand Beasts sect that can threaten you." Yi Hao glanced at I Ching, who was daydreaming. He could guess what I Ching was thinking, but he didn't expose her. Anyway, it wouldn't do him any harm, so he just let her daydream. However, Yi Hao was very curious as to why I Ching was so afraid of the Thousand Beasts sect. In order to not join the Thousand Beasts sect, he purposely picked 2 magical beast eggs of inferior quality and prayed all kinds of things. No matter how he looked at it, I Ching's family wasn't small. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible for her to have a spatial ring. That way, she wouldn't be so afraid of the Thousand Beasts sect. Yi Hao guessed and asked, "Could it be that you really have an enemy in the Thousand Beasts sect?" "How could I have an enemy? My family. I'm so kind." I Ching almost spilled the beans. She secretly glanced at Yi Hao and saw that Yi Hao was eating as if he didn't notice. She couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Family. Yi Hao naturally heard I Ching's words, but he didn't care. There were so many clans in the Myriad Kingdom continent. He knew which family was it, and this I Ching obviously didn't want to say it, so Yi Hao pretended not to hear it. "Get to the point." After Yi Hao took a mouthful of food, he raised his eyelids and asked, "Sigh, this is simply my humiliation." I Ching seemed to have thought of some unbearable past and sighed with a sad face. Chapter 198. Yi Hao sat on the side and looked at I Ching pitifully. I Ching was telling her sad history with snot and tears. After more than half an hour, Yi Qing wiped her tears and asked, "Boss, do you think I'm pitiful?" Yi Hao nodded deeply. In his opinion, it was a pure accident that Yi Qing could live to this age. However, from Yi Qing's tone, Yi Hao discovered that although Yi Qing was dissatisfied with his sister and bullied him, he was very respectful towards her. It can be said that they were a pair of siblings who loved and hated each other at the same time. It was just that his sister was more talented and had been bullying him since he was a child. His sister joined the Wand Shou sect a year ago. He sighed that God had eyes. He was finally liberated. Who knew that it would be his turn today? It could be said that he was driven out of the house by his father with a stick, who asked God to play tricks on him. Even if he deliberately picked two bad magical beast eggs, they both hatched magical beasts. He didn't know whether to sigh at his good luck or bad luck. But Yi Hao was a little envious of Yi Qing. Although his sister often beat him, from Yi Qing's tone, he knew that the relationship between him and his sister was very good. Thinking back to his brothers, except for the eighth prince who was good to him for a period of time, and it was because of his other identity, the others all wanted to kill him, so he couldn't feel the brotherly love. Come on, let's not go home until we're drunk today. Yi Hao was used to drinking the wine of the earth. The wine of the world of 10,000 countries was simply tasteless. Yi Hao took out a few bottles of erguotu from the space and handed a few bottles to Yi Qing. Although Yi Qing was crying, seeing Yi Hao take out so many erguotu that she had never heard or seen before confirmed her guess. Good wine. Unsurprisingly, Yi Qing also choked for a moment, but she couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Yi Qing could feel Yi Hao's sadness from Yi Hao's tone and said with a smile, "Come on, boss. Let's not think so much today. We just want to get drunk." Yi Qing was born in a big family and knew how deep the water of a big family was. Although his sister had always bullied him, his sister was also his strongest backer. His sister helped him vent his anger many times. She beat away many people who wanted to bully him. In his eyes, Yi Hao was definitely the kind of big family's son who lived in an abyss of suffering. Okay, come on. Yi Hao was not that relaxed when it came to wine. He laughed heartily and blew directly into the bottle. Ah, my head hurt. Yi Hao opened his eyes and hid his aching head. He looked around and said, "Wasn't I drinking with Yi Qing? Why am I in the Song Mansion?" Yi Hao naturally recognized his room at a glance. Seeing that it was already sunny outside, Yi Hao shouted to the outside, "Help! Master, you're awake!" One of the Martial King Knights heard Yi Hao's voice and quickly came in and asked with a bow. Yi Hao sat up from the bed and looked at the Martial King Knight. "Why am I here? Wasn't I in the restaurant?" "Young master, Miss Song sent someone to find you last night. As for Yi Qing, she's right next door," the Martial King Knight quickly replied. Yi Hao revealed an expression of understanding. It seemed that he didn't barbecue meat for this girl for nothing. It was useful at the crucial moment. "You lazy pig, you're finally awake." Suddenly, a head popped in from outside the door. Song Shan Shan stuck out her tongue and said playfully, "Tell me, where are you going to play today? Don't tell me you're going to barbecue again." Yi Hao looked at Song Shan Shan's cute appearance and asked with a smile, "You're only thinking about eating. Why don't you hurry up and train your magical beast? Don't you want to compete? You have to know that many people want to defeat you and rely on you to be their cornerstone." "Defeat me for what?" Song Shanshan's words stunned Yi Hao. Could it be that he had not intimidated those people yesterday? "You're strong, but the next round of the beast appraisal competition is a test of your magical beast strength. It has nothing to do with your personal strength." Everyone in Beast King City knew that Yi Hao had defeated Guohai in an instant. However, Yi Hao's magical beast was only a rank 2 magical beast. Although it was a mutated magical beast, it didn't have any obvious characteristics. Although everyone was afraid of Yi Hao, more people thought that this was a good opportunity to become famous. Defeating Yi Hao was extremely difficult, but defeating Yi Hao's magical beast wasn't impossible. Among them, Xue Ji had even announced that he would personally kill Yi Hao's magical beasts in 2 days to prove the strength of his magical beast. This Xue Ji really doesn't know what's good for him, trying to trick me with a dead egg. I haven't settled this score with him yet, and now he dares to provoke me. Then I'll settle the old and new scores with him. After hearing Song Shanshan's words, Yi Hao smacked the bed and scoffed. Ouch, why did you hit me? Song Shanshan cried out in pain as she held onto her red hand. Yi Hao scratched his head in embarrassment and said speechlessly, Who said you could sit down? You even put your hand on my bed. I've worked myself to death to tell you that I can't even sit down when I'm tired. How can you be so righteous when you hit me? Song Shanshan said angrily. All right, I'll apologize. Humph, no sincerity. A meal of roasted meat. Yi Hao looked at Song Shanshan's back as she turned around and released his trump card. Humph. 2 meals. Seeing that Song Shanshan was still ignoring him, Yi Hao continued. Song Shanshan was obviously tempted. She rolled her eyes and snorted again. Yi Hao knew from Song Shanshan's tone that Song Shanshan was already tempted. He pretended to be unwilling and said, At most 3 meals. If you don't agree, then forget it. Song Shanshan's eyes lit up as if she had won a battle. She revealed a winner's smile and said, All right, deal. Oh right, how can a magical beast grow? Yi Hao brought Song Shanshan to the forest and asked Song Shanshan as he busied himself with the roasted meat in his hands. As for I Ching, she was still lying on the bed drunk. Magical beasts usually have their own cultivation method. But with such a short time, it's obviously too late. We can only buy pills that can help magical beasts improve their cultivation. Song Shanshan sat on a big rock and rested her chin on her hands. She stared at Yi Hao and said without blinking, Then after we finish eating the roasted meat, you can bring me to the city to buy some pills. Although Yi Hao knew that the white dragon elephant had dragon blood in its body, Yi Hao was still worried about the strength of the white dragon elephant. The white dragon elephant couldn't be like him and kill enemies that were so many levels higher. Yi Hao estimated that it was at most 1 or 2 levels higher. Chapter 199. The Beast Demon Lodge was the largest place in Beast King City that sold pills. Yi Hao and Song Shanshan quickly finished their barbecue and walked into the Beast Demon Lodge. This Beast Demon Lodge is doing well. As soon as Yi Hao walked in, he smelled the strong fragrance of pills. Of course, most of them are people who have successfully advanced. They want to show off their skills in 2 days, so they are looking for a shortcut here. Song Shanshan held Yi Hao's hand and looked around like a curious baby. Isn't this young Master Xia Hao? Why are you here? Young Master Xia Hao's beast is only at the 2nd rank. He must want to buy pills to help his beast break through. When Yi Hao walked into the Beast Demon Lodge, many people immediately stood out to greet him. There were also many who stood on the spot and whispered, Master Xue is here. At that moment, a group of people suddenly walked in. The one leading them was naturally Xue Ji. Who is this? Isn't this the famous young Master Xia Hao? Why are you here at the Beast Demon Lodge? When Xue Ji saw Yi Hao, he was obviously stunned for a moment, but he immediately said in a sarcastic tone. Before Yi Hao could say anything, Song Shanshan immediately stood out and said angrily, It's none of your business whether we buy pills or not. Xue Ji was originally a member of her Song family, but he secretly betrayed the Song family and sided with the country. This made Song Shanshan very unhappy. Ha ha ha! Xue Ji seemed to have heard the funniest joke. Even his followers laughed in unison. I don't think young Mistress Song knows that the Beast Demon Lodge belongs to me, Xue Ji. Xue Ji said proudly and looked at Yi Hao provocatively. Impossible! How can the Beast Demon Lodge be yours? Isn't it the property of the Beast Demon sect? Song Shanshan immediately questioned. Although the Beast Demon sect couldn't be compared to the Thousand Beasts sect, it was still an existence that Beast King City couldn't afford to offend. If the Beast Demon sect belonged to Xueji, then why would he betray the Song family to curry favor with the Guo family? It was more like it was the other way around. Nothing is impossible. I'm the son-in-law of this Beast Demon Lodge. If I say that the Beast Demon Lodge is mine, what's wrong with that? This Xueji could be considered to have hit the jackpot. He had consecutively appraised a Class 3 and a Class 4 magical beast, and had actually caught the eye of the daughter of the master of the Beast Demon House in Beast King City. He had directly become the son-in-law of the Beast Demon House, and his status had skyrocketed. That was why he dared to say that he would definitely kill Yi Hao's magical beast. What's the matter? It's so noisy. An old man asked as he walked down from the second floor. He was supported by a middle-aged woman. Father-in-law, why did you come down? It's just a small matter. When Xueji saw the old man, it was as if he had seen his own father. He hurriedly ran forward to support him. You must be Xia Hao. You look pretty good. The middle-aged woman didn't care about Xueji's feelings. She walked up to Yi Hao while swaying her hips. She spoke flirtatiously and kept throwing flirtatious glances at him. Looking at the middle-aged woman's appearance, Yi Hao almost vomited. He really didn't know why Xueji's taste was so heavy. He even wanted such a woman and dared to show off everywhere. When Xueji saw this scene, his face turned green and he said awkwardly, "Madam, come and support father-in-law." "Shut up. You have no right to speak here." The middle-aged woman put her hands on her waist and turned around to roar loudly. Saliva flew everywhere from her mouth. The middle-aged woman turned around, flicked her hair, and pretended to be shy as she said, "Little handsome brother, play with big sister. You can take whatever you want from the Beast Demon Lodge." Song Shanshan was instantly infuriated. She stood out and said in disdain, "How shameless can you be? Look at how old you are." "Father-in-law, look." Xueji felt that the dignity he had just regained was instantly destroyed by his wife. He instantly became the laughing-stock of the crowd. Xueji had no choice but to ask the old man for help. The old man gestured for Xueji to not be angry and said in a serious tone, "Daughter, come back here." When the middle-aged woman saw Song Shanshan's beauty, her jealousy immediately overflowed, and she said in a fierce tone, "Where did you come from, little girl? Do you believe that I won't scratch your little face?" But when she heard the old man's words, she instantly became docile. She swayed her hips and walked to the old man's side. She shook the old man's arm and said, "Dad, enough." The old man growled. The middle-aged woman instantly became obedient. "Xueji, I said that I'll leave this shop to you. You can handle this matter." "Yes, father-in-law." When Xueji heard the old man's words, he was delighted. He was afraid that the old man would dote on his daughter too much. If the middle-aged woman took a fancy to Yi Hao, he would be kicked aside. "Men, chase these two people out. In a while, the Beast Demon Lodge will not welcome the people of the Song Mansion and this young Master Xia. If Yi Hao could come to the Beast Demon Lodge, he must be here for the pills." But he insisted that Yi Hao would not get what he wanted. When the time came, he would be able to ruthlessly attack Yi Hao in the competition and vent his anger. "Why are you chasing us out?" Song Shanshan said unconvinced. She was the daughter of the city lord's family. When had she ever suffered such humiliation? Moreover, Xueji's words were undoubtedly blacklisting the Song Mansion. This was an open slap to the Song Mansion's face. It was something she could not tolerate. Although Xueji's words were too impulsive, the old man did not care. Even if he offended the overlord of the Beast King City, the old man was not afraid at all, because he had the Beast Demon sect behind him. This was his confidence. If he wanted to completely capture Xueji, how could he not use some capital? Therefore, the old man acquiesced to Xueji's actions. When the guards of the Beast Demon sect heard Xueji's words, They looked at the old man. The old man nodded slightly and dozens of guards instantly rushed out. Basically, all of them were martial kings or above. Please! One of the guards stretched out his hand and said in a tough tone. Seeing this scene, Yi Hao sneered and pulled Song Shanshan's hand. Shanshan, let's go. Xia Hao actually admitted defeat. Am I seeing things? He's not even afraid of the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect. Why did the Beast Demon Lodge admit defeat? Seeing Yi Hao holding Song Shanshan's hand and walking out, no one could believe the scene in front of them. They did not understand when Yi Hao had become so easy to talk to. He did not even give face to the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect. "All right." Yi Hao held Song Shanshan's hand and walked to the door. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks as if he had thought of something. He turned around and met the old man's gaze. He said, "Old man, those who come are guests. And your Beast Demon Lodge actually chased a guest out of the store. Perhaps you're not suitable to be the lodge master. Don't regret it." "Haha, I've been the lodge master for decades and I've never regretted it." Yi Hao's words made the old man very unhappy. Since when did someone dare to threaten him? However, he did not dare to make a move because Yi Hao was a disciple of the Thousand Beasts sect. He could only treat Yi Hao's words as a joke. Chapter 200. Xueji. The old man felt that this wasn't enough and called out in a deep voice. "Son-in-law is here." Xueji hurriedly lowered his head respectfully, looking like he was waiting for orders. "I heard that you want to kill Xia Hao's magical beast in the competition 2 days later." The old man purposely asked in front of Yi Hao. Xueji stole a glance at Yi Hao, then looked at the old man and answered nervously, "Yes. Yes, father-in-law." "Good. Take whatever pills you want from the Beast Demon Lodge. I'll watch it myself on the day of the competition." After the old man finished speaking, he ignored everyone's reaction and went upstairs with the middle-aged woman's help. "Thank you, father-in-law." "Thank you." Xueji thanked him profusely. The old man gave him authority that he didn't have in the beginning. Originally, he could only flaunt his prowess in the Beast Demon Lodge, but he didn't dare to touch anything that belonged to the Beast Demon Lodge. With the old man's words, it was undoubtedly a huge help to him. The reason why he agreed to follow that pig-like woman was because of these pills. In the past, he didn't even dare to think about these pills. But now, he could use them as he pleased. It was like a dream. Right now, he didn't know if he should thank Yi Hao for making his father-in-law unhappy. That was why he was able to fulfill his wish. In the Beast Demon Lodge, Xueji was naturally full of confidence. He looked at Yi Hao and said provocatively, "Xia Hao, just wait and see how I'll kill your magical beast in the competition." Hee. Yi Hao shook his head with a cold smile and left with Song Shanshan. He couldn't be bothered with him at all. "Brother Xia Hao, what should we do now? According to my sources, this Xueji has a rank 4 magical beast. If we rely on the Beast Demon Lodge, there's still a chance for it to break through to rank 5. Song Shanshan asked worriedly as they walked out of the Beast Demon Lodge. "System, I want to exchange the formula for the experience pill for magical beasts." Yi Hao had already made up his mind. Since he had alchemy skills, he could just refine the pills he didn't have. The only formula that he didn't have could be exchanged with the system. "Ding dong, please choose the formula you want to refine." The system immediately listed out a row of pill formulas for Yi Hao to choose. "Let's choose this Beast Spirit pill." Yi Hao glanced at the pill formula and compared the pros and cons before choosing a pill formula. "Ding dong, congratulations to host for spending 100,000 reputation points to exchange for the Beast Spirit pill formula." A piece of beast skin suddenly appeared in Yi Hao's space. However, Yi Hao didn't even bother to check it because the formula had already appeared in his mind. It was as if it was engraved in his mind. Yi Hao read through the ingredients needed for the recipe in his mind. The most important ingredient was the magical beast crystal core. Fortunately, he had collected a pile of them. As for the other spiritual herbs, they were just ordinary spiritual herbs. They were not too difficult to find. Shanshan, where can I buy spirit grass? Yi Hao asked the worried Song Shanshan. With Song Shanshan around, it would save him a lot of trouble. Spirit herbs? Could it be that Big Brother Xia Hao wants to feed the magical beast spirit herbs directly? Hearing Yi Hao's question, Song Shanshan guessed, but this is the only way now. Although spirit grass isn't as effective as pills, it still has some use. Song Shanshan didn't even think that Yi Hao wanted to refine pills because not everyone had the talent to refine pills. Therefore, she thought that Yi Hao wanted to feed spirit grass directly to the magical beast spirit herbs. What are you talking about? Hurry up and bring me there. Yi Hao couldn't be bothered to explain to Song Shanshan and said anxiously. This was because the lowest level of this pill recipe required a third-stage alchemist, and he was still far from that level. What he urgently needed right now was to raise his level so that he could refine the spirit beast pill. Oh, okay. Song Shanshan could feel the urgency in Yi Hao's tone and hurriedly brought Yi Hao to another pharmacy. This shop should have the spirit grass that Big Brother Xia Hao needs. Song Shanshan brought Yi Hao to the entrance of a pharmacy. Beast King Pavilion. The name is actually the same as Beast King City. Seeing the name of the shop, Yi Hao was a little surprised. Looking at the size of the shop, it wasn't smaller than the beast monster abode. Instead, it had a longer history. As if she saw Yi Hao's question, Song Shanshan said, "This Beast King Pavilion used to be the largest beast spirit pill shop in Beast King City. Even the name of Beast King City was changed because of the Beast King Pavilion. It was so powerful. How did it become like this?" Yi Hao was a little surprised. However, looking at the deserted shop, there was a huge difference in popularity between it and the beast monster abode. That's because my Beast King Pavilion can't refine pills anymore. Of course, no one comes. Before Song Shanshan could speak, a girl in pink walked out of the Beast King Pavilion. Her face was covered with a pink veil, and her voice was beautiful. Yi Miaoyan walked to Yi Hao's side and bowed gently. "Greetings, young Master Xia Hao. I'm Yi Miaoyan." "Oh, you know me?" Yi Hao was a little surprised that Yi Miaoyan knew his name. "You must be joking, young Master Xia Hao. You killed the Guo family's father and son, and you didn't even give face to the elders of the Thousand Beast sect. Moreover, you have a heaven-defying beast appraisal skill. Who in Beast King City doesn't know of you?" Yi Miaoyan smiled sweetly and said softly, "Big Brother Xia Hao, aren't we buying spiritual herbs? Let's hurry up and buy them." At this moment, Song Shanshan treated Yi Hao as her treasure. She was afraid that Yi Miaoyan would snatch him away. She quickly grabbed Yi Hao's shoulder and said, "Sister Shanshan is still so cute." Yi Miaoyan walked to Song Shanshan and grabbed her hand. Her tone was kind and friendly. "Young Master Xia Hao, please. Other than pills, my Beast King Pavilion still has a lot of spiritual herbs." Yi Miaoyan pulled Song Shanshan into the shop. At the same time, she didn't forget to turn around and say to Yi Hao, "Young Master Xia Hao, you can choose whatever spiritual herbs you want." Yi Miaoyan said casually, "Why is there no one in this shop?" Yi Hao looked at the empty medicine shop and asked in confusion. "Sigh." Yi Miaoyan sighed. "Ever since my father died, the few alchemists left the shop. Originally, the business was doing well just by selling spiritual herbs. But now that the Beast Monster Lodge is suppressing it, the Beast King Pavilion can no longer support itself." The corners of Yi Miaoyan's eyes were filled with sadness. She bitterly smiled and said, "The Beast King Pavilion can no longer afford to keep guards. I dismissed them 2 days ago. Originally, I was going to sell the Beast King Pavilion in a few days. I was going to find a beautiful place to spend the rest of my life." Yi Hao looked at Yi Miaoyan with sympathy. He could imagine how difficult it was for a woman to support the Beast King Pavilion alone. So these spiritual herbs are useless. If young Master Xia Hao needs them, just take it as a gift from me. Emelian exhaled and pretended to be relaxed. Chapter 201. And Sid equals 343287261 inch what? Yi Hao's words stunned Emelian. She looked at Yi Hao and smiled bitterly. Young Master Xia must be joking. Without alchemists, the Beast King Pavilion is destined to close down. Even the lowest level alchemists are proud and arrogant. We can't afford to hire them. I'm only asking if you want to or not. Yi Hao ignored Emelian's question and asked with a firm attitude. Emelian looked deeply at Yi Hao. She didn't know what methods Yi Hao had. She smiled and said, "As long as young Master Xia can make my Beast King Pavilion's reputation overshadow the Beast Monster Lodge, I'm willing to repay you with my body." Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the mission. Let the Beast King Pavilion regain its glory and force the Beast Monster Lodge to close down. Mission reward. 1 big gift bag, 100 favorability of Emelian, 1 million experience points, and 1 million resurrection points. It works. Yi Hao had already figured out the rules of the mission and wanted to give it a try. He didn't expect that his guess was right. Disregarding everything else, just the resurrection points alone were enough for him to summon a martial honorable. Moreover, he didn't like the Beast Monster Lodge to begin with. Now that the Beast King Pavilion had defeated the Beast Monster Lodge, Yi Hao's method was to rely on the system to summon a few alchemists. System, how many soul points do I have now? Yi Hao asked the system. Originally, he had a lot of soul points, but in order to save his life, Yi Hao summoned a martial honorable and a martial soul and placed them in his dragon prison lake. Therefore, he had almost no soul points left. However, he still obtained some soul points after killing Lan Bao and the Guo family's father and son. The host still has 100,000 soul points left. How many soul points does an alchemist need? Level 1 alchemists need 300 soul points. Level 2 alchemists need 3,000 soul points. Level 3 alchemists need 30,000 soul points. Level 4 alchemists need 300,000 soul points. Damn, it's so expensive. Yi Hao listened to the system report and secretly clicked his tongue. Alchemists were actually 3 times more expensive than martial artists. It seemed that alchemists were really more precious than martial artists. However, he only had 100,000 soul points left. There was no hope for him to summon a rank 4 pill refinement master. Yi Hao came back to his senses and asked Emelian, "Miss E, may I ask what rank the pill refinement master of the Beast Demon Lodge is?" The strongest alchemist in the Beast Demon Lodge is their lodge master. He used to be a rank 3 alchemist, but recently, it was rumored that he had just broken through to become a rank 4 alchemist. His alchemy skills are abnormally high, far surpassing my father's. Emelian's eyes flickered with intense hatred when she mentioned the Beast Monster Lodge. It could be said that without the Beast Monster Lodge, the Beast King Pavilion wouldn't have become what it was today. The reason why the Beast King Pavilion could be said to have fallen to its current state was mostly because of the oppression from the Beast Monster Lodge. That's why we can't fight with the Beast Monster Lodge. Not to mention their lodge master, they have 1 rank 3 alchemist, 3 rank 2 alchemists, and dozens of rank 1 apprentices. Emelian sighed and said, "So what?" Yi Hao smiled calmly. After knowing the trump card of the Beast Monster Lodge, he felt a little more confident. "Wait for me, I'll go out for a while." Yi Hao couldn't summon people in front of them, so he found an excuse to leave temporarily. "Hey, big brother Xia Hao, where are you going?" Seeing Yi Hao leave, Song Shanshan hurriedly asked. "Little sister Shanshan, what's the background of this big brother Xia Hao of yours?" Emelian didn't understand why Yi Hao suddenly left and asked Song Shanshan, who had an anxious look on her face. Song Shanshan shook her head. Big brother Xia Hao is very mysterious. I also don't know where he came from. Only Xie Chunyu knew about Yi Hao's identity. Xie Chunyu only told City Lord Song, so Song Shanshan didn't know. Could it be that he can find an alchemist? Yi Miaolian thought, but immediately felt how ridiculous it was. If alchemists were so easy to find, then the Beast King Pavilion wouldn't have fallen to its current state. Could it be that Xia Hao is an alchemist? Yi Miaolian thought of another possibility. But thinking about Yi Hao's age, even if Yi Hao was an alchemist, so what? Her father had worked hard for his entire life, studying the art of alchemy, but in the end, he was only a rank 2 alchemist. Even if Yi Hao was an alchemist, in her eyes, he was only a rank 1 alchemist. Although it wasn't bad, if he wanted to go against the Beast Monster Lodge, it was like an egg hitting a rock. Yi Hao walked to an empty corner, thought for a moment, and said to the system, I want to exchange for 2 rank 3 alchemists, 10 rank 2 alchemists, and 30 rank 1 alchemists. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for spending 99,000 soul points. Character exchange completed. Summon. With Yi Hao's order, 42 alchemists instantly filled the small alley. All of the alchemists looked around, and when they saw Yi Hao, they quickly knelt on the ground and saluted. Greetings, my lord. All right, there's no need to be so courteous. Follow me. With Yi Hao's order, a group of people respectfully followed behind Yi Hao. A beggar looked at the vast crowd and was instantly stunned. He had been waiting here all this time and saw Yi Hao enter with his own eyes. How did it suddenly become so many people? Big brother Xia Hao, where did you find these people? Big sister Yi Miaolian doesn't want your money, but you don't have to empty the shop, right? In just a short while, Song Shanshan had already become familiar with Yi Miaolian. When she saw the 40 to 50 people behind Yi Hao, she covered her mouth and said in shock, What are you talking about? Yi Hao's face was filled with black lines as he gently patted Song Shanshan's head. Young Master Xia Hao, what are you doing? Seeing Yi Hao suddenly bring so many people in, Yi Miaolian was also shocked. The expression on her face was clearly vexed, as if she had invited a wolf into the house. Yi Miaolian's tone was a little unpleasant. She didn't expect Yi Hao to be such a person. But when she thought that there was no use for her to keep these elixirs, she sighed and said, Take all of them away. Don't step into the Beast King Pavilion in the future. Big brother Xia Hao, quickly come and explain. Song Shanshan saw that Yi Miaolian was angry and was a little anxious. She quickly grabbed Yi Hao's shoulder and said. At the same time, she persuaded Yi Miaolian, Big sister Yi Miaolian, Big brother Xia Hao is definitely not such a person. Just listen to his explanation. You guys get to work. When Yi Hao saw that Yi Miaolian had misunderstood, he wanted to explain. But when he saw Yi Miaolian's expression, it was obvious that she didn't want to talk to him. Yi Hao awkwardly rubbed his nose. Although the Beast King Pavilion had fallen, there were still dozens of alchemy furnaces in the alchemy district, proving the glory of the Beast King Pavilion. Yi Hao brought everyone to the side of the alchemy furnace. Looking at the clean alchemy furnace, it meant that Yi Miaolian had been cleaning it every day. Chapter 202. You can take these spiritual herbs as you wish, but you're not allowed to touch these pill furnaces. Because she was standing far away, Yi Miaolian mistakenly thought that Yi Hao wanted to take the pill furnaces. Her heart was suddenly ignited with anger as she walked to Yi Hao and shouted, Miss Yi, you misunderstood. Yi Hao saw that Yi Miaolian was really angry and wanted to explain. But Yi Miaolian didn't give him a chance at all. She snorted disdainfully. Misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? Don't tell me that you're going to refine pills. Yi Hao nodded slightly, but it made Yi Miaolian sneer even more. Okay, I'll see what you can refine from the people you casually pulled from the street. Take a look at this pill recipe and get ready to start. Yi Hao knew that no matter how he explained, it was useless. Only by refining the pill could he win Yi Miaoyan's trust. This beast spirit pill could only be refined by a third-rank alchemist. Yi Hao handed the pill recipe to the two third-rank alchemists. The two alchemists immediately remembered some of the key points on it and respectfully returned the pill recipe to Yi Hao. Can they really do it? Yi Miaoyan looked at the pill recipe in Yi Hao's hand. Although she couldn't see the content of the pill recipe clearly, she began to have some doubts. After all, in her eyes, these people must be casually pulled from the street by Yi Hao. How could they be alchemists? I'll see how you act. If you can't refine it, I'll see how you clean up the mess. The two alchemists' movements were almost synchronized. They ignited the furnace in one go and put the prepared spiritual herbs and magical beast cores into the pill furnace at different times. They constantly used their mental power to control the intensity of the fire and injected their martial power into the pill furnace. The spirit grasses in the alchemy furnace instantly melted, turning into a mass of liquid, which was stored in every corner of the alchemy furnace. The magic beast core in the middle also slowly melted, splitting into dozens of streams of energy, which then fused into the liquid spirit grasses. Are they really alchemists? Although Yi Miaoyan was not an alchemist, she had been influenced by what she had seen and heard since she was a child. At least, the movements of these two people were somewhat like alchemists in her eyes. However, whether they were or not depended on the final result. The other alchemists were also standing at the side, absorbing the experience. Yi Hao was grinning from ear to ear, and the system's notification cheerfully sounded in his mind. Congratulations, host. Alchemy experience +1. Congratulations, host. Alchemy experience +1. Yi Hao did not expect that he could gain experience just by watching others refine pills. This was really a pleasant surprise. Ouch. Suddenly, Yi Hao sucked in a breath of cold air. Yi Hao lowered his head and looked at the little hand on his waist. He looked at Song Shanshan in pain. Why did you pinch me? Humph, you big pervert. Not only did you peek at Sister Yi Miaoyan, but you also smiled so obscenely. Song Shanshan wrinkled her little nose and said with a jealous tone. When did I? Yi Hao shouted with great desire. Following Song Shanshan's gaze, he saw Yi Miaoyan standing in front of the alchemy furnace. Yi Hao had been staring at the alchemy furnace. In the eyes of the two girls, Yi Hao had been staring at Yi Miaoyan, and even showed an obscene smile. Yi Hao felt bitter in his heart. This time, he really couldn't wash away his guilt. Looking at the angry and embarrassed expression on Yi Miaoyan's face, she obviously misunderstood him like Song Shanshan. Then why did you pinch me? Yi Hao could of course hear the jealousy in Song Shanshan's tone, and deliberately pretended to be depressed and asked. That is because I saw injustice and drew my sword to help. Song Shanshan was asked by Yi Hao, and her heart suddenly became nervous. Oh okay. Humph, what a block of wood. Song Shanshan looked at Yi Hao as if he really didn't understand. She was a little angry and paced her feet. Suddenly, a head bent over to her ear, and the hot breath made her ear itch. Suddenly, her little face blushed. Why do I feel that you are jealous? Don't tell me that you like me. After saying that, Yi Hao looked at Song Shanshan with a mischievous smile. Song Shanshan didn't dare to look at Yi Hao's eyes. She quickly lowered her head, almost burying it in her chest. The pill is done, open it for me. At this moment, two loud shouts sounded at the same time. With a bang, the lids of the two alchemy furnaces were opened at the same time. A strong medicinal fragrance filled the entire Beast King Pavilion, attracting many passers-by to look. It's really done. Yi Miaoyan had been watching the two of them refining the pill. The moment the pill was successfully refined, Yi Miaoyan ran to the side of the two alchemy furnaces. Looking at the alchemy furnaces lying in the furnaces, she happily picked them up. Boo-hoo, I'm so happy, thank you. Yi Miaoyan looked at the pill in her hand and was so excited that her eyes were filled with tears. She directly threw herself into Yi Hao's arms and sobbed. Yi Hao didn't react to this scene. Strictly speaking, this was the first time a woman threw herself into his arms. Moreover, it was a great beauty. Although Yi Miaolian was wearing a veil, Yi Hao knew that Yi Miaolian was definitely good-looking from her delicate body. Yi Hao lowered his head and looked at Yi Miaolian in his arms. He made up his mind and reached out his hand to hold Yi Miaolian's slender waist. His heart instantly swayed. However, with so many subordinates here, Yi Hao couldn't do anything excessive. He just looked at Yi Miaolian's slender waist with one hand and stroked Yi Miaolian's hair with the other. When Yi Hao reached out his hand to hold her, Yi Miaolian instantly reacted. Her heart was incomparably nervous. Fortunately, Yi Hao didn't do anything excessive, which made her feel relieved. Feeling Yi Hao's warm embrace, she suddenly wanted to cry out all the grievances in her heart. Song Shanshan stood behind Yi Hao and looked at Yi Miaolian with envy. She pouted her little mouth, but when she heard Yi Miaolian's cries, she also felt pity for Yi Miaolian. She lived in the Beast King city, and had more or less heard about Yi Miaolian. She also admired Yi Miaolian very much. Yi Miaolian was a weak woman. It was already very difficult for her to support the Beast King Pavilion until now. This was because the Beast Demon Lodge was too powerful. Even the City Lord Mansion had to fear the Beast Demon Lodge, let alone Yi Miaolian. How difficult was it for her to fight against the Beast Demon Lodge alone? "I'm sorry, young Master Xia." This little girl lost her composure. Yi Miaolian suddenly struggled out of Yi Hao's arms and apologized. She quickly went upstairs. "Why are you suddenly shy?" Yi Hao rubbed his head and looked at the pills in the 2 alchemy furnaces. There were 7 pills in one alchemy furnace, and 6 pills in the other alchemy furnace. Adding the pills in Yi Miaolian's hands, there were exactly 7 pills in total. This meant that the 2 of them were equally matched. Yi Hao put away the 2 pills and instructed the 2 alchemists, "You 2 continue refining pills." However, when he saw the other alchemists, Yi Hao suddenly felt troubled. This was because they couldn't refine the Beast Spirit pill. The only pill formulas he had were the Golden Sore pill and the Laxative pill formulas. Now, the Golden Sore pill didn't have much effect on him. "Young Master Xia, these are the pill formulas left behind by my late father. They are all low-level pill formulas. I wonder if young Master Xia can use them." Chapter 203. Really? This is simply too good. Hearing Yi Miaolian's words, Yi Hao's heart was ecstatic. His subordinates finally had a use. "Thank you." Yi Hao hurriedly took the stack of pill recipes. "You guys get to work." Yi Hao picked out some useful pill recipes and handed them to his subordinate. Everyone immediately got busy. However, there were only a dozen or so pill furnaces on the field, which was not enough for everyone. Yi Hao asked embarrassedly, "Miss Yi, I wonder if there are any more pill furnaces?" "Why, there are so many pill furnaces, isn't it enough for young Master Xia?" Yi Miaolian asked in confusion. "Yes, yes." Yi Hao nodded. Just as Yi Miaolian was about to question him, a dozen or so pill furnaces suddenly lit up with flames at the same time. Yi Miaolian looked at the dozen or so people refining pills in shock and asked in disbelief, They are all alchemists? Yes, is there a problem?" Yi Hao did not deny it and looked at Yi Miaolian in confusion. No. Yi Miaolian did not know how to describe her inner thoughts. She looked at Yi Hao in a daze. "How did you do it?" Yi Miaolian was very curious. How did Yi Hao find so many alchemists in such a short period of time? Could it be that alchemists were really worthless? Yi Miaolian felt as if she was dreaming. Everything that happened in front of her was an illusion, but she clearly knew that all of this was real. It was all done by this young man in front of her. He was indeed very mysterious, as Song Shanshan said. Miss Yi Hao's call woke Yi Miaolian up from her contemplation. What's the matter, young Master Xia?" "I want to send people to buy a lot of spirit herbs." Yi Hao said with a chuckle. We still have a lot of spirit herbs, there's no need to buy them. Yi Miaolian did not understand. No, if we want to suppress the Beast Demon Lodge, we have to buy a lot of spirit herbs when they are unprepared, and then refine them into pills. When the time comes, we can use the price to suppress the Beast Demon Lodge. Yi Hao spoke out his idea. If he wanted to suppress the Beast Demon Lodge, he could only start from the price of pills. The Beast Demon Lodge was the dominant force in the Beast King City. They would never have thought that the Beast Pavilion would suddenly come back to life. Yi Hao wanted to buy all the spirit herbs in the entire Beast King City while they weren't paying attention, so that the Beast Monster Lodge wouldn't have any spirit herbs to use. But seeing Yi Miaolian's embarrassed look, Yi Hao asked in confusion, are there any other obstacles? It's just that the Beast King Pavilion doesn't have much liquid capital now. When Yi Miaolian said this, she looked embarrassed. After all, the Beast King Pavilion had been holding on for so long and had long been exhausted. I thought it was something serious. Yi Hao laughed when he heard Yi Miaolian's words. He took out 10 million taels of gold from the space and handed it to Yi Miaolian. Miss Yi, please take them with you to buy the spirit herbs. You must finish it quickly. So much? Young Master Xia, this won't do. Yi Miaolian looked at the silver notes in her hand and felt that it was extremely heavy. She quickly wanted to stuff it back into Yi Hao's hand. Yi Hao chuckled and asked, don't you want the Beast King Pavilion to regain its glory? If you don't go now, I will leave with my subordinates immediately. Seeing that Yi Hao was about to get angry, Yi Miaolian panicked. Don't, young Master Xia. I will go now. The Beast King Pavilion was her father's life's work. If it wasn't because she had no other choice, how could she be willing to close the Beast King Pavilion? Now that the Beast King Pavilion finally had a glimmer of hope, Yi Miaolian naturally didn't want to let it go. But young Master Xia, there are too many silver notes here. Yi Miaolian took out a large portion of the silver notes and wanted to return it to Yi Hao. Yi Hao quickly refused. Now that the Beast King City is full of people, we have to seize this opportunity. I am afraid that the spirit herbs in the Beast King City are not enough. Send people to other cities to buy spirit herbs, pill furnaces, and formulas. Okay. Yi Miaolian could hear Yi Hao's ambition from Yi Hao's tone and quickly nodded in agreement. Seeing Yi Miaolian leave, Yi Hao gave a few instructions to his subordinate. He casually found a room, took out his pill furnace, and began to prepare to refine pills. If he wanted to defeat the Beast Demon Temple, just the price alone wasn't enough. Yi Hao wanted to defeat the Beast Demon Temple in all aspects. However, the Beast Demon Temple's master was a rank 4 pill refiner. He only had 1,000 soul points left and didn't have many resurrection pills left. It was impossible to summon a rank 4 pill refiner, so he could only rely on himself. Yi Hao found a rank 2 pill formula from the pill recipe. His subordinates had already prepared the spirit herbs for him. Yi Hao followed the method in the pill recipe and threw the spirit herbs into the pill furnace one by one. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for successfully refining pills. You have received 10 pill refining experience points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for successfully refining pills. You have received 10 pill refining experience points. Yi Hao repeated the pill refining actions like a machine. He kept putting the spirit herbs into the pill furnace and taking out the complete pills. He had already refined dozens of pills. At this moment, the system's notification suddenly rang. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for reaching rank 3. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the pill explosion technique. I've finally leveled up. Yi Hao was overjoyed. He exhaled and asked, what's the pill explosion technique? Yi Hao checked the pill explosion technique that the system rewarded him and immediately understood. The pill explosion technique was a method of refining pills. Very few people in the Myriad Kingdom continent had mastered it. It was almost lost. Normal pill refiners would start the furnace immediately after refining pills. However, the pill explosion technique separated the pills when they were about to take shape. It could randomly increase the number of pills, and the quality of the pills wouldn't be any worse. So magical. After Yi Hao read the introduction of the pill explosion technique, his curiosity was piqued. He hurriedly threw the spirit herbs into the pill furnace again. It's almost done. Just as the elixir was about to take shape, Yi Hao's hand made a strange movement, and a strange force was injected into the elixir. At the same time, according to the elixir explosion technique, Yi Hao's spiritual force was also controlling the elixir. Yi Hao shouted in his mind, "Open for me!" Just as the pills were about to take shape, the 7 pills in the pill furnace instantly exploded. Spirit energy filled the entire pill furnace. However, a strange force instantly fused all the exploded pills together. The pills are done. Yi Hao extinguished the fire and quickly walked to the front of the pill furnace. Seeing 9 round pills lying in the pill furnace, Yi Hao was very excited. It's a success. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.